I don't know when. I'm just exposed to thread, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a-rolling, all down to San Antonio. All down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns.
Hello everybody and welcome to Daytona Beach, Florida once again for the final time for a while as we get ready for round 2 of the points season for season 4 on HTL, the Daytona Beach 150. Last week we were around the high banks, in which we'll still be going around tonight, but in a much different fashion. It was the oval. Now it's time for the road course, as the road course ringers are out in full force, and somebody is walking home with yet another Daytona trophy. I'm Kristina Ryan, and alongside me, as always, is Carmen, Sienna, and Carmen. We had a fantastic start to the season last week out. It's going to be really hard to top it, but I have a feeling we can.
It's going to be exciting. Obviously, the momentum is high from the 300 last week. You know, we had 51 cars trying to qualify for that one. Not nearly as many, but the road course ring are still going to force a little bit of elimination qualifying here tonight. 36 spots available on the grid. Over 40 cars trying to qualify for those spots. So at least 6 cars going home tonight. This place is special. Doesn't matter if it's the road course or the oval. You want to be here, you want to race here, and you want to win here. And as you mentioned, someone's going to get lucky and bring a car to victory lane tonight.
Yeah, not only that, but the qualifying format, a little more normal to what we usually would see in an ABN event. Of course, HTL pretty notorious for having single car, one at a time qualifying, just like real life. Since it's a road course, it's group qualifying tonight, and with this many cars on the track, traffic and clean racetrack is going to be a premium, as 40-odd drivers are going to be fighting for 36 spots. We saw the duels where only half the field was on the track a couple weeks ago at a time, caused enough chaos for a season's worth of highlights. It's going to be exciting watching everybody try to negotiate, because this track may seem large, but it gets small in a hurry.
Especially when you cram over 40 cars onto it. This track's a little over 3.5 miles long, but yeah, clean air is a premium, especially for this car that is so designed towards more road course racing now than anything. It puts a premium on the air on the front of that car, especially. I don't envy being in this position in the slightest. Typically, we see races here where either you've got solo qualifying and it's not an issue, or it's heat races or so on and so forth. Having 42 cars right now set to take part in qualifying for this event. Almost feels like your Grand Prix racing like at Monaco or something, or almost like putting the Super Formula cars at Tsukuba is what it's going to feel like. You're not going to have a chance to get clean track. It's just managing what you can get.
Absolutely. We ride on board with current leader of practice, Rudy Valentine, 1/100th faster than Bianca Constantino, who returns tonight to make where she's more comfortable on the road courses. But so is Rudy. Rudy Valentine, of course, making his debut tonight in HTL, but he is no stranger to ABN.
No, absolutely not. I think Rudy Valentine Anytime he shows up, he's going to be a favorite. He is, by many, considered the road course ringer of road course ringers around ABN Circle from ARCS. Obviously, HTL tonight's going to find that out. You put him on a road course in any of the series we broadcast, chances are he's going to win it. He's won an ABN Cup. He's won an ABN Champ car. He's won in sports cars. He's won the Xfinity car. He's won in the truck. He's won in the Cup car before. He has got a resume that is very impressive. He's an instant threat no matter where you go, whether it's Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Road America, Daytona Road Course. He is just that good. But he's not alone up there.
No, and I guess Bianca heard us because she's just gone to the top of the board with a 52.5. Now, that's the first time that Valentine's been knocked out of the lead since the start of the session, pretty much, since he started turning laps. So while we got some road course ringers and some new talent to show tonight, it's far from a done deal. It's very close up at the front of the field, and even though some of the regulars like Proudfoot and Gaiman are trailing a little bit, we've seen it time and time again, Carmen. It doesn't take too much for everybody to be back in the scenario here, especially with stage racing. Only one green flag pit stop expected tonight, and it's going to be a fun one to watch regardless, especially because it's under the lights. That infield visibility, not fantastic.
It's not the best, but it's also not bad. So a lot of improvements were done over the winter last season to improve the lighting in the infield. It was very, very dark in the infield for a period of time. Now there's more infield lighting, and that helps out a ton in terms of visibility. Makes it a lot easier, especially going to the braking zones, turn one, and do both the horseshoes, especially that's where most of the lighting is now. Makes it a lot more bearable, and in these cars, every little bit helps.
Absolutely. We ride on board with the helmet camera of Rudy Valentine. See, he tries to negotiate that tricky last chicane, put there mostly to avoid heavy braking failures, headed off into this corner to try and slow the cars down a little bit. It's quite a tricky racetrack in any kind of car. A stock car really adds to the challenge here as we see Rudy goes for a spin. So even in the last 30 seconds, we've seen both the drivers at the top of the leaderboard go off track. So it is far from easy today at Daytona.
And obviously, a lot of drivers finding the limits as much as they can before qualifying. Because again, every spin, every off track, every incident point invalidates your lap time. This is really the last chance drivers have at really pushing the envelope, seeing what they can get away with here tonight. As we look on board with last week's winner, Josh Sosi, he's taking a breath of fresh air and a sigh of relief that he's already got himself into the playoffs, starting off his season with a walk-off grand slam. And having a little bit of a grand slam there over the curves there.
Yeah, a little hospital hop. Does a nice job to hang on to it, but that's one of the things that are going to be a big thing tonight, because this road course variant still has the turtles, the controversial turtles that were there in 2020 when NASCAR came here for the first time. And that's just one of many examples that we're going to see tonight. Those are mistakes. And also, those eyes do not deceive you. There's a new face behind the number 31 machine, and this is not how we expected her to make her debut with Lady Liberty Motorsports, but a little bit of negotiations that always seem to be going on, those alliances. Queen's Design and Lady Liberty having a bit of a symbiotic relationship, providing extra drivers.
Yeah, Ruby Acosta making her official debut tonight for Lady Liberty Motorsports. A little bit too much there on the sausage curbing on that final corner. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be very interesting seeing how, obviously, the race will develop with green flag pit stops happening through that last corner complex. But Ruby Acosta put a lot of time this week into trying to get everything ready for this race, trying to get as much lap time as possible. Not sure Acosta's ever raced at this version of the racetrack before. And it's a jarring experience if you're stepping into this for the first time, especially in a field of 40-plus cars trying to qualify for this race. Acosta's in a chartered car in the 31, taking over from Kevin Gibney Jr., so there's a lot less stress on her for tonight. but it's a jarring experience trying to go through a crash course, not only in this car, but on this track. It is not easy by any sense of the imagination. Acosta being top 6 right now, phenomenal as far as getting that started.
Yeah, absolutely. And she may not have particular experience with the NASCAR version of this track, but she has countless hours around the road course in both sports cars, stock cars, you name it. Of course, coming back from the days of Gran Turismo, has plenty of experience around this racetrack, both the oval and the road course. The Los Angeles native. As we look at Matthew Boone in the number 28 machine with 3 minutes left in practice, Carmen.
Yeah, Matthew Boone, not sitting too awful bad himself here. Probably not the most renowned for his road course finesse. But he's working on trying to come back again, as he also clips the little bit of the sausage curving there, the turtles on the inside of that last corner. That last corner is going to be a problem. It was a problem when they ran it back in 2020, 2021, obviously in the real-life NASCAR circuit. And it's going to be just as much of an issue tonight with that. You want to take a little bit of that inside, but the moment you, especially with these cars, the amount of bounce that you see with the flat floors and the suspension geometry now, a lot less forgiving. So it's going to be very difficult.
Absolutely. Get ready to go racing here. Chad Swatsworth going for a bit of a slide as well. Just talked about how unforgiving this track is, and it's unforgiving even in the sports cars. It's one of those silent killers. You don't think it'd be so aggressive, but yet it is. Be something to keep an eye on, and it's gonna make a big difference in qualifying as well.
Yeah, this track it can be a nightmare. And I mean, obviously I think you can kind of attest to it more anyway, because just like what we did with last week's race at Daytona on the oval, we decided to send you out, and I'm trying to figure out who's paying for these laps, because it's a lot of fuel that we're using here at Daytona. But we're going to kind of go through, we're going to bring up Chrissy's World here for the road course. I don't know if you've ever raced the road course, at least this variant, in these cars before. I have, so this will be fun to kind of see, because I actually do get to critique you on this one, so I can't wait to see how this is going to go.
Absolutely.
All right, so here we are at Daytona again. As soon as checkered flag flew in the 300 and Sophie took home the trophy, the track crews went straight to work getting ready for this event at the road course. So let's go for a lap around here, shall we? It'll be our last time at Daytona for a bit. Much unlike the flat-footed nature of the Speedway, the road course is a very different beast. Immediately hard on the brakes, very awkward corner here into turn 1. Really easy to lock up. Really loose through here. Up through this little kink. Can't really go side by side through here, but it's not much of a corner. Heavy braking zone again into the International Horseshoe. Really got to be easy on the accelerator here. Use all the left side of that racetrack that you can. Now the dog leg here, the kink. Some drivers may be braver, but with the way these stock cars handle, it's not going to be like the Daytona 24. No going flat through there. Easy to lock up here into the left horseshoe. Much like the International Horseshoe, a really long delayed hairpin. And then we do it again. This corner is so easy to mess up on. It's so bumpy through here. We saw several drivers go spinning through here last week. This transition is one of the hardest corners on the track to do in the stock car 1. Back up the gears now, much shorter gear ratios than they ran last week. Already up to 5th gear now. And headed towards the La Mans chicane. Very heavy braking zone, very brave on entry. These drivers are going to be making a lot of mistakes here. It's so easy to throw it off, especially right there and right there. Just off the turn. Perfect for the NASCAR course to deter drivers who may go off the track there, try to gain advantages. Now into stock cars 3 and 4, you have to slow down awkwardly here in turn 4 because of the NASCAR speed, there's this extra chicane here. turtles everywhere. You don't want to hit it. Oh, because that is going to happen. Power down as hard as you can on exit. And then bring it back home to start finish line. It's a much different beast here today. And I can guarantee you it's going to be bringing a lot of excitement. These drivers better be ready because the Daytona road course is one hell of a challenge.
It was an interesting little lap time. Obviously, they told you to not take too aggressively there. But I think well put there. I think it highlights exactly just how challenging those sausage curves are and really how clear you have to stay of those lines. So give my props there.
Yeah.
A little golf clap for that. This track's not easy.
No, it's definitely not, as qualifying just got the green flags. That's why things look a little different. No times on the board yet, everybody on their outlaps. But yeah, no, it made me feel a lot less stupid seeing all these drivers, even drivers that were at the top of the leaderboard like Valentin and Constantino sliding about, hitting the tire barriers. At least I didn't tear the car up. Car was clean. Undercarriage is a different story, but hey, we don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah, not looking for the repair. I have to take care of my own team's repair bills well. So that's a bit rough.
See, well, here's why I don't care, because we're about to go to Homestead, and then you're going to have to replace the whole right side when I demonstrate why the wall is a line you can run. But that's neither here nor there, but we got a week to figure that out.
Yeah, I got to get a small loan for that one.
Okay.
Actually, that was a... Let's see if we can get the Ford used. That way Tombstone or somebody can pay for it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what the Ford would... Yeah, listen, you had no issues with me doing donuts on the front stretch on the oval. Suddenly now it's a problem because I hit a turtle. Okay. Swatsworth on track, one of the first drivers to set a lap time as it stands. Of course, it's a 20-minute open qualifying, and that is open qualifying, which means every single person on the racetrack is going to be those that are chartered and not chartered all sharing the track together. So this is more of an intense time for those who are unchartered on the outside looking in than it is for somebody like Swatsworth, who's just trying to go for pole and get a good position to start from.
Yeah, it's a lot about mitigation and managing the situation the best you can. Swatsworth has a pretty clear track ahead of him, so he's got the ability to sort of make up that advantage. But it's really going to come down to, I think, you look at obviously where Constantino is, you look at where Valentin is at. Does the clean air for Swatsworth really kind of mitigate the deficit that you're going to see in dirty air for some of the front runners right now that are just getting their opening laps in some of the traffic?
No.
That's going to be the big question.
No, I think it's not as quite as big of a deal as what we saw with, like, let's say Champ Car the last season of Super Formula, where clean air is absolutely key and it means everything. It's a bit different. These cars don't generate as much dirty air as you would think. The problem is more that you start to get target fixation and you start to lose where your marks are, as Swatsworth is currently the fastest in clean air. I think it's going to help more to have draft down that oval portion, as now Proudfoot goes fastest in the 50 and then goes for a bit of a slide. It's going to be very important. You can definitely be fast without a tow, but if you can catch somebody coming back onto stock car one, you can survive through that chicane, through the Le Mans chicane. It's more important to have the draft. You can also see how small the spoilers are. There's no Lexan on the spoilers this weekend, Carmen. That is the spoiler, is what you see. So that's how small the aero package is right now. So not a lot of dirty air being created by these cars, at least not enough to make a big difference.
See exactly how big the lap times are going to be here. Valentin coming out of the final corner across the line. Is that enough for him to take pole? No, only 9th place for Valentin. As we see Seth Wansing on the screen. Now Valentin there going through turn 1. Valentin only set the 9th best time and runs wide in turn 1.
Yeah, well, it's going to take a while to fire these tires up. These smaller profile tires, they're not a big fan of firing up right out of the box. Of course, this tire in general really not as lenient or as responsive as what we're used to having had for the last, I don't know, couple of decades in NASCAR. It's a much different beast now. So, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. You can see how much body roll there is too. They're running a very soft suspension setup, which should give them a little bit more grip, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rudy doesn't get back up there in a lap or two. The problem is, Carmen, we're almost halfway through the session already because of how long these laps are. If you run the entire session, which you probably shouldn't, you should at least pit once for tires, because that's going to make a whole world of difference. You only get about 3 or 4 good laps, including warm-ups and getting up to speed laps. So the pressure is really on, especially for drivers who are not in the show as it stands yet, like Callie Height, for example, for Queen's Design.
It definitely puts a lot of emphasis on the pressure there. A lot of uncharted cars. For those that are new to HTL Cup Series action, there are 32 charters in the field. There are 36 spots, so 4 uncharted cars make the field. All the charters are locked in based on being chartered. Teams have put a lot of money into being able to be secure for these races. There's 42 cars if you're to qualify for this race, so 10 cars going for 4 spots effectively makes that a lot more difficult of a situation, especially if you're someone like Callie Height, who already missed 300 last week. You do not want to start the season with 2 DNQs in a row.
No, absolutely not. And you can see the track map here. Not a lot of free real estate except for in stock car 3 and 4, but it seems like nobody is there to take advantage of that. And you can see how quickly, look at this group, this little gaggle here with Jake Millsap and company. And this is where you want cars in front of you, Carmen, is coming down this straightaway, but you don't want to get too good of a run on them, because then you have to, you start losing time on them in other places. So it's a bit of a mixed bag as we see them barrel off into the chicane. I love this camera so much when we don't have it black out, but such a unique camera. But you can see here how quickly he gets up to the back of Kyle Talbot, the 16. Now that might have hindered his lap a little bit, but now it's going to get mitigated because now he's going to have draft all the way down, but you don't want to start side drafting each other. See Kyle Taub not wanting to help someone else out either because his lap's already not that fantastic. He doesn't want to give draft. So there's a whole lot of things in play here.
Absolutely, a whole lot in play. Joel Rodriguez just went top of the board. Proudfoot second. Swatsworth, Hagan, Valentine, and Callie Height currently top 6. Looking good for the 66 car for Queen's Design. As Millsap in the 20 of Scott, I believe that is the 20 of...
That's Scott.
I think it's Scott Sprinkle,
yeah,
I believe.
It is, and that's
Brand
a
new
big
driver.
slide from the 13 of Millsap, who holds
Yeah.
on to it. Beautifully done there, not to take anybody else with him as well. It's important to keep that car running because you can actually get a little bit of an advantage if you burn the fuel load here. It's not quite like other tracks where you want the fuel in the back of the car. It's a bit more like a straightforward sports car race or open wheel race where the less fuel, the better. It's one of the few times in a stock car you want that fuel to be gone on a quali lap, because usually, a lot of people don't know this, you want to have full fuel a lot of the time because one, it weighs down the rear, which gives you a little bit more pace, but also if you don't take fuel and take tires, I'm sure you've felt this before, Carmen, the balance of the car is wrong. You always want to take fuel if you're taking tires, because otherwise the car is going to handle differently, unless you're trying to get drastic changes in the setup. The only time it doesn't matter as much as when the cars are equally balanced on the setups. They're not built just for turning left like they are here. Today, obviously, they're built for the road course, so they have the same springs on the left and the right, so having no fuel in the back of the car isn't going to be as big of an effect.
Been the quickest in these cars, so I've always preferred not having fuel over having fuel. I know that there's a balance shift there, and it kind of sort of depends on how you like the car. Because I prefer an understeer car too, and that's going to be an interesting play here because these cars inherently, with almost 700 horsepower in them, are going to have slip and slide a little bit. We've seen that a little bit already. I prefer a car with more understeer when I raced in this car. So typically I would leave fuel out and kind of just let it tighten up a little bit. And that's typically how that would kind of go about, because less fuel in the car, less weight, kind of counteracting things, puts a little bit more focus, a little bit more weight on the front of the car. So I used to always just kind of lean onto that. It's going to be interesting because this car is relatively neutral. So you're going to have to try to figure out how you want to get it here between the brakes, obviously being able to change the size of the brake calipers and the effectiveness of those brake calipers, your brake bias, your brake balance. There's a lot of tools in this car. This is the most advanced stock car we've ever seen. And there's a lot of tools to kind of put this in the back of the driver's hands. Who's going to get that right quickest tonight? It looks like Rudy Valentine back at the top of the board may have unlocked that cheat code there and got it back to a comfortable range for him.
Yeah, and that's important for him to do, though. Of course, he's a rookie to HTL, but he's far from it anywhere else. So he's got that talent. He knows how to get things done. He's incredibly quick wherever you put him. The other thing they're going to have to be looking out for, the bigger problem with this car isn't necessarily the balance in general, as you mentioned. It's pretty neutral. It's the acceleration and deceleration. Those are going to be the two biggest problems, which you think, well, what's the other option? Well, it handles pretty good overall. It's just when you're in those heavy braking zones or those heavy acceleration zones, which this track has several of, you're very likely to either wheel hop, which is where you have a condition where the rear brakes are locking up and it physically causes the car to jitter around, or you lock the front tires, or when you're getting back on the throttle, you use too much, you spin the car out. It's so easy to do, especially over these corners here. We talked about it in the segment where I was running the hot laps. It is such a tricky racetrack to get right. And the fact that they've added turtles all around it, a lot of drivers have opinions on this, as do fans. I hate the turtles here, and I think it causes more harm than good, and I think we're going to see that tonight because a lot of drivers are going to hit that, and we already saw a couple of them get some pilot's license early on.
Yeah, the sausage curbing, the turtles, whatever you want to call it, it's not. They're not great in Europe. They're not great here in the U.S. Overall, they're just bleh. But I mean, they serve their purpose pretty well. You can't take too much grass, especially to the bus stop, and get away with it more often than not. But it's kind of just speaks to the rigidity of this car. Obviously, this layout was used initially when we had the Gen 6 car, which was a lot more forgiving. So it's a little bit of a culture clash there with a brand new car, almost based off of what we see with V8 supercars now more than anything, and it's a lot more stiff and very physical. Surprisingly physical for a car with power steering. Probably the most physical it's ever been. Just trying to get all the performance out of it.
Yeah, and a part of that comes into the fact that these cars are until very recently, very aggressive on the body. For those in real life, when they crash, of course, that was very painful, very minor crashes because of the rigidity of this car caused more problems internally. Now, of course, with the way things are here, it's a little bit different of a story, but as you mentioned, rack and pinion steering, we see that in some of the open wheel series in America. It can do some real damage in the game and in real life if you're not careful and have the right, or I guess in this case, wrong kind of wheel. We talk about it every week. So it is a bit of a new concept.
Yeah, it is, and obviously qualifying about 5.5 minutes left in change in qualifying. 33 cars set lap times. Notable emissions, I believe, from the lap time screen. Jonathan Adams, Blake Galloway have not set lap times. Those are two uncharted cars that at this point in time look set to fail to qualify for tonight's race. And then you have the charter cars, the 4 of Apperson, the 22 of Donaldson, the 44 of Moutre, the 94 of Pindell, the 3 of Morris, and the 2 of Ryan Pinnell that will start from the back of the field no matter what, based off the fact that they've not set times yet.
Yeah, so if I'm reading this right, there are 11 non-chartered entries fighting over what appears to be 6 spots, or 5 spots.
It'd be 5 spots, yeah.
So only the top 5 non-charters are going to make it, which is more than what we had for the 300, but still not ideal. Just trying to take a quick look here. I think Seth Wansing is safe. Obviously, so is Valentine.
So Joe Rodriguez. Yeah, so Joe Rodriguez, Valentine, Callie Height.
And then I think
They are
I
safe.
think Seth Wansing.
Wansing. Yep, Seth Wansing would be the 4th. And then if we're saying top 5, that'd be the 20 of Scott Sprinkle. I believe would be the last one safe at the moment, with
Which means Jason,
less than 5 minutes left.
Yeah, which means Feemster, Adams, Kraft, Britton, Withers, and Eichler appear to not be
Looking
in.
at.
We'll go over that again. It's kind of hard to keep track of as it's happening.
Especially with everything still so spread out throughout the field. Obviously, trying to do what we can to kind of track all of that for you. But it looks like most of the top 5 is going to be in the top at least half of the qualifying order here, from Wansing to Valentine. Which
makes sense. That's how it really should be. If there's people that got to go home, then, you know, you really got to prove that you need to be here. And it's nice to see some of these drivers like Valentine, who's making a career debut, provided we all had a feeling he would make the show pretty handily, but you know, still has to do it. Like if he didn't put in this lap, he doesn't make the show at all. So a good effort. As for Rodriguez as well, who's been an animal this speed weeks and has really been showing a lot of talent, a lot of promise. He's the only other driver to be into the 53s along with Valentine right now, but Valentine's definitely the one to beat.
Surprised me, Bianca Constantinou has yet to set a lap time in this session. That's a big surprise there, because Bianca was sitting up there poised to be at least in the top 5 conversation.
Has turned 6 laps, none of them valid, because of course the way that it works here, you have to get your lap in without any X's. She's failed to do that so far. May have an opportunity. We'll get, looks like 2 more laps if she hits it just right here, because she'll get this lap and then she'll get to come back around, because unlike the single car quali, you get to finish the lap you start. So all of these cars in this gaggle all the way down to Cali Height should, in theory, get to go for another lap. Oh, Cali should, yeah.
Lap times are about 1:53, 1:54 for the faster cars here.
Let's see what Bia can do, because she's going to have to make it count here if she can't get it in the next 2 laps. Because as you mentioned, lots of pace, 7 laps in, and none have counted yet. Still Valentine Rodriguez and Brandon Proudfoot, the top 3, with Hagan and Katie Height following behind them. Love these camera angles. You can really see these cars slide around. Bia is such a talented young lady. She has driven the wheels off of anything she gets into. You can tell she drives really. We got drivers who are very calm, cool, and collected like Rudy, but then you have people like Bia who are fighting the car tooth and nail, lap after lap, and it really shows in the body language of that race car. But you can see there, she's correcting it all the way onto the oval, but it's very fast.
Extremely quick. Seeing what time she can kind of put down here, and I'm wondering where she's having the trouble with putting the lap down in good standing. Where the lap's being invalidated, because it's so hard to invalidate it in the bus stop unless it's at the beginning of the bus stop.
Well, there's several things, because it could be the bus stop in the beginning, but remember 0X is also I don't know what I'm trying to find the word. There you go. Thank you. Invalidate your lap, and that includes contact with high curbs. So she could be clipping the curbs, and those 0Xs could be costing her. We'll see if she gets a valid lap here. And that messes with you too. See, that might be a 0X right there. So we'll see if it counts. She'll get 1 more lap at it. It's kind of 50-50 when you hit those curbs if it counts or not. And it does count this time, and she goes 5th fastest. So critical moment for her. She needed to put that lap down, and she did. And she'll get 1 more opportunity as well to try and go for pole position. So we'll keep it on her right now. Valentine in the background, currently the one to beat, almost a second clear of Joel Rodriguez, who is also on a lap now. So oh my goodness, that's Connor Morse, who's gone nearly up and over. See if Joel Rodriguez can bring that car as he continues to play musical chairs with the racing seats. Any faster for the 57? No, doesn't look like it. Proudfoot would be next. He's about a half a racetrack away here. Still has the back straightaway to go. Doesn't look like this lap is going to be very quick, though. No personal bests. Bia is showing a little bit of extra pace, at least relative to height. See what she can do here.
Sitting 4th place in pit lane, was happy with his lap time, felt he couldn't improve it, so he's been sitting out most of the last couple minutes.
That's good, though, because it gives him time to recharge. These drivers are out here getting sweaty and working out, trying to get these cars around. Valentine goes even faster, a 52.7, to really drive home that he wants that pole position. Brilliant lap from the 91. Don't know that Bia can answer to that, but we'll see. She's the only one who's come close. Oh, and I think she might have just lost it there.
Yeah, we're gonna find out here.
Could have been a little bit of latency, but I think that's gonna count as a... Oh, no, it does count, and she goes a 53.7, so she goes second fastest. So not quite enough, but a really good effort to put her on the front row. What can Caitlin Height do as she comes through the final corner, currently 6th? And she will not continue her lap. Joel Rodriguez, who I don't think made it in time for another lap. Still just out there for the practice. Unless his lap will count. I don't think it will, Carmen, but we'll see. Yeah, no, he's crossed the checkers twice now, so I think Seth Wansing might be the last driver who is no longer on a hot lap. He is parked down there. However, our pole winner is Rudy Valentine in the number 91 car, and he'll take the Deep Racing pole award.
Did a phenomenal job here tonight.
So it's Valentine, Constantino, Rodriguez, Proudfoot, Hagen. Now let's try and figure out who's in and who's out of the field.
And it looks like right now in and out of the field, I have to see if I can pull up the results here just to make sure. I'll pull them up on my monitor here real quick. So Valentine is in, Rodriguez is in, Callie Height is in, Scott Sprinkle is in.
Who, it must be said, put in a very nice lap at the tail end of their qualifying session to put it in 11th. So very nice lap when they needed it. So yeah, actually leaped over Callie. So then Callie's good. Let's see, Byron Jones is a charter.
Wansing would be the last person on that list in that zero car.
I believe you're right.
If there's 31 charters, or if there's 31 charters and 5 vacant spots for non-chartered cars, that would be 5. Wansing would be the 5th. If there's 32 and 4, then Wansing's the first one out.
So we know at least, without a doubt, that Valentine, Constantino,
Sprinkle, and Height are in. To make sure on that, see if we can get some information, make sure that we do have our numbers right. We'll hope that we got our numbers right on this.
Yeah, we will double check, but we do know, obviously, Rudy is in, and then I think it'd be probably easier to figure out who's going home.
Yeah. Over 40 cars to start this race, and you look at just how many cars try to set qualifying times. Over 40 cars. Yeah,
there's the bottom 40.
Galloway's out.
Yeah, 42 attempted. Well, 42 are on the entry list. 36 cars attempted.
Yeah. Jonathan Adams, I think, is out. Then that's 76. That's a non-chartered car for Jacob Shangle Racing.
Valentine, Rodriguez, Sprinkle, Height is it, according to what I'm seeing here. But that should mean that there's one more that makes it.
36, because William Britton's not chartered either.
Correct.
Eichler's not chartered.
He will not make it. Neither will Eichler.
think Wanzing is safe. Well, I'll have to double check on that, but I believe it's 5 that made it through to get to the full 36 car field.
That's what I'm thinking too, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Because with that, your guess is as good as ours at the moment. We don't have those fancy graphics we had last time around. Oh gosh, we'll figure this out. But in the meantime, Carmen, we are getting ready for the first road course race of the season that has come rather quickly. Of course, we're still in Daytona and getting ready for the final leg of Speed Weeks. We'll not be able to leave Florida for a while still. We have one more week to go, but it's finally time to say goodbye to Daytona for a little while after this one, and it went by very quickly.
Not quick enough. The hotel bills are not cheap here at any time of the year.
It's a good thing we don't have to pay them, right? I'm just saying.
Also, it was very funny. We had a little screenshot there of someone just skipping the bus stop there. That was pretty hilarious. Wish it counted. Wish you could just do that.
Well, we saw Connor Morse nearly roll the car over. We were worried about rollovers and heavy impacts all through the 300. And now, looks like we're doing it every 5 minutes. We're going to be more worried about rollovers over these turtles than we are anything else tonight. So Wanzing would be the 5th driver to make it if there are the 5 make it. So we know for sure Valentin Rodriguez, Sprinkle, and Height are safe. We believe Seth Wansing is as well, but that is the one we're waiting for. But now it is just been confirmed that Wansing, Valentin Rodriguez, Sprinkle, and Height are going to make it. That has just been confirmed from the higher ups. So congratulations to those 5. Everybody else, sorry. It is a painful, yeah, it is a painful feeling to have to bring the car home early, but you know, with the way that some of these races end, at least you have a car to bring home. With that though, Carmen, we're getting ready to go racing at the Daytona road course. Tell me a little bit about this track, because I've talked about it. It's your turn.
Daytona International Speedway road course. It is one of the pinnacles of road course racing now in the United States. Obviously, the 24 hours of Daytona, as you see, you talk about rollovers. There's the 20th Sprinkle going for a ride in the Tri-Oval there in the background there. You talk about the 24 hours of Daytona, kind of really kicked off this thing as a road course venue, as well as the Speedway that we see every February. This race, just like what it was in NASCAR back during the pandemic, was a huge starting point. It was where the Clash was held back, I think, in 2020. What we saw under the lights. So we saw the proof of concept, everything that we're about to see tonight. It's challenging. It's difficult. It's unforgiving, especially in the bus stop where you want to be super greedy, but you can't. You're going to spend a lot of time gripping the steering wheel as tight as possible because you are going to feel unconfident and unsure of yourself at points in time tonight in this 42-lap race. It is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. It's about being patient and not being over greedy. Everyone has to kind of keep in mind, just like what it was last week, second place is better than 36th on a wrecked car. Yeah. Very easy to tip the scales, especially at this track. Very easy to tip the scales over in the wrong direction and end up empty-handed. Drivers have to keep that in mind tonight, especially the drivers that are maybe not as confident. Do what's safe, not what's fast in that circumstance, because you want to be able to make it onto Homestead and not have to start worrying about, being in the hole after 2 races.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're going to have time to get through the full starting grid unless they delay the green here, as it seems like there's only a whole half a lap grid. So very quickly we'll go through the starting grid. Rudy Valentin and Constantino on the front row. Rodriguez, Proudfoot, Hagan, Height, Acosta, Gaiman, Sasek, and Swatsworth the top 10, and the rest are going to very quickly scroll by. As we get ready to go racing here, it does not look like they will be delaying the green. So apologies for that. Typically we have a lot more time to go through all of this info, but
kind of things to kind of point out here, kind of picking and choosing. A lot of drivers that did not set lap times in this field. 36 cars, still a huge field. Keep an eye on drivers like Ryan Pinnell, who typically just gain a lot of positions in the race. It will be no different tonight for him. Obviously, the fight's going to be at the front between Valentin, Rodriguez, Constantino. I'll just keep an eye on Kalen Height. sitting there in row, I think in row 3 there on the outside. Winner of all the road courses last season. Can't shoot it again beginning this season.
Yeah, here we go. A very quick and rapid start, but the Daytona Grand Prix is underway. We're racing at the road course. And they don't make it. Around a track blocker early in turn number 1, and the caution will probably have to come out for that one, as at least 6 or 7 cars
come to a complete
jumped.
Stop there.
Height is in it. Caitlin, I should say, Sasek is in it. Still no caution yet. Henderson's in it. A lot of cars junked here early. But the green flag goes on. Yeah, no fast repairs, and I guess no cautions. So, interesting call there, but an early start there to bring out, probably end the days of about 10 people right off the bat, Carmen.
This is not surprising. It is somewhat consistent with how HTL saw it last season, because there's no cautions outside the stage breaks. Last season on the road courses, Charlotte, Road America, and Watkins Glen were the same way. We had issues there, especially at the Charlotte Roval was where we had the biggest issues, similar to what we just saw here. And cautions did not come out for that. Let everyone get rolling here. I believe the understanding, or the belief is that this track's long enough. Stage 1's only 10 laps. Almost treat like a competition caution for some of those cars. Just try to hold on for those 10 laps and then to get this car repaired and ready to go.
I mean, I get that, but when the track is blocked, you kind of have to make a decision there. And I don't know.
Also remember, there's no live admins.
Yeah, I don't know. Half the field 30 seconds off after one lap doesn't really sit very well with me. And of course, there is the stage break coming, but that's in about a quarter of a race from now. And I think about 10 people's days are done already. But say what you will, at least it's consistently bad. But lap 1's done, and Rudy Valentin is the leader from Rodriguez and Constantinu. Sprinkle up to 4th, fighting with Ruby Acosta now for 5th, or for 4th.
I was beginning to sort of come into tuition here. Acosta battling with Sprinkle there at the very edge of the top 5. Battle for 4th and 5th there. And there's a little bit of space between Acosta and Swatsworth.
Mm-hmm. We'll have a look back at what happened on the initial start in just a moment. We're going to let things pan out a little more. Here's what it's like in 11th and 10th. That's Hagen and Gaiman fighting for position. It's Gaiman in the 10th position in the 61 machine. And a little bit of drama in front there for Jeremy Breo, who nearly goes around in the 88 machine. Now, again, this is another day-to-night race, so we'll see what happens as the track continues to evolve. But right now, Breo falling back after that slide onto Oval 1.
Easy go of it here. Obviously, in the opening lap, Breo has been out of the car for a huge portion of the summer. Obviously, defending RX Ace for Cup Series champion, has missed several races. Has not, to my understanding, last week was really his first time in the car since, I believe, mid-June. So he's been having to go through a crash course here, getting back up to speed and really back into the swing of things. Almost like really developing some muscle memory, especially at a track like this where he's never been before. Not easy. So to qualify, not only qualify top 10, but also like take advantage, obviously, try to stay near that position in that number 88 machine. A chartered ride made it easy for him in qualifying. Breo taking it easy here in stage 1, kind of just minding his P's and Q's as he battles with the 33 of Bren Roberts, familiar face over on the ARC side of things. Not a bad effort so far for that 88.
But they're all chasing Rudy Valentin right now. We're riding on board with Joel Rodriguez in the 57, having a great run early on here. Tires are going to matter a little bit, probably not as much as we're used to seeing, but they will matter. On board with Rodriguez now. And you can see the sun still plaguing these drivers as it was last week in the 300. Constantinou still runs in third position, and Ruby Acosta has now made it into fourth and is starting to scoot away a little bit from Sprinkle by about 2 and some change. So the debutante for Lady Liberty currently carrying the torch for that race team.
A lock and change of 42 laps here, 150 miles here at the Daytona Road Course. Costa minding her P's and Q's at the moment. There's
Slotsworth finds the wall. Does a nice job not to go all the way around there. We'll get going. I don't know if he actually did hit the wall. He might have kept it out of there, but loses a chunk of time. So he comes out of stock car 4 and gets back underway and tries to recover. So the 18 having some issues here now as well. And there goes Callie Height around over the turtles. Gaiman has to take evasive action. And Callie was just going to talk about how she was off to a great start now, and she'll fall from outside the top 15 as she gets the car going again. And now the other question is there damage there as she is gone in the final corner?
You start getting comfortable, you start wanting to be a little bit more greedy, and just being just an inch wrong in your positioning going through one of these corners, especially with those curbs. They're right on the edge of those corners. Can really make you pay for it.
Yeah, I gotta be curious to see if Gaiman's gonna get a penalty for that as well. Of course, no live admin, so can't clear black flags. So what ended up happening there is with Gaiman cutting the course in avoidance, he has a very good argument there. If they would be able to clear that, because that is the one thing that is pretty easy to do, even if you're not a live admin. But we'll see if he had to serve a slowdown or has to serve a track cut penalty for that, which would be a shame considering that he's running quite nicely as well. And if he didn't make that move, Callie Height might have been in the grandstands right about now.
For second heating up here, as we look at Rodriguez in the 57 and Constantinou. Is that Valentine?
No,
that was Valentine.
That's Sasic. Or no, it is.
It was Valentine. Valentine had an issue at the entry of the bus stop.
Oh my goodness.
So now it's Rodriguez and Constantinou battling for the race lead. Contact into the chicane.
So now what is Valentine going to do to try and get that position back? A rare mistake.
Oh,
and you can see Rodriguez really struggling to put the power down in the 57 machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Under pressure now. Constantinou, a little bit of out-of-body experience watching the car that she tried to race into the 300. Right in front of her as she sits in the 96.
This is now the battle for the lead as Rudy Valentine makes a small mistake here. He's still in the background, he's still in third, but now he locks up again into the International Horseshoe, which is going to cost him another bit of time. The gap's about 2 seconds, and Ruby Acosta is not too far off of this group.
Ooh, Rodriguez just ran one.
Oh, they make contact!
Jesus!
And they're still not done. They're still side by side, and this allows Rudy to get right back into the fight, but Bia slides around the outside of Joel Rodriguez, and now Bianca Constantinou is leading in her first official start, because as you mentioned, DNQ'd the 300. So now she leads on debut.
Valentine got around Rodriguez. Rodriguez, I think, cooked those tires up. He went wide into the kink in between the horseshoes, and it really kind of set them out sideways, which was what draw the contact to begin with. And now Valentine's gone through. Valentine back on the hunt, trying to get back to the race lead here. Very tight at the top of the field between three very, I'd say, very prominent road course ringers is what we've seen develop here.
Yeah,
Rodriguez,
absolutely.
the newest of the bunch to us here on ABN, showing he can hang.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Valentine should be faster than Bia, but it's going to be interesting because now this is where we're seeing these two go head-to-head for the first time. As, of course, they're both on their debut in HTL. As we're riding on board with the suspension camera of Rudy Valentine, you can see those brake discs glowing as well. He's going to be working those brakes all night long, and it's only going to become more apparent as the sun comes down. You're going to be seeing all 4 rotors glowing on a lot of cars, but you'll see, it's interesting, Carmen, you'll see who has more front brake and more rear brake. See, Rudy obviously has a lot more rear brake than front because of how much his are lighting up compared to other drivers, but it's also a good show of how aggressively they're hitting the brakes. Some drivers may not have any glow at all, especially if they're trying to save their tires. You can see all 4 were alight there for the first 2, but Joel Rodriguez, a lot more rear than front. So that's a fun thing to keep an eye on throughout tonight.
Thankfully, we'll see all of that here this evening. Multiple different, again, just like what we had last week, over 100 different cameras here at the Daytona Road Course. See a lot of the rears lighting up big time there. Reminds me of, obviously, go back to Gran Turismo days, the brake glow in the GT cars.
Yeah.
Reminds me very much of that, especially once the lights really turn on and the sun completely sets, obviously, beyond the grandstands here. Going to be very majestic watching the brakes light up there into the braking zones. Even going as far as like the bus stop, you'll see the brakes light up a little bit further on into this race. So the more you see brake fade and fatigue set in, the more drivers will begin really trying to minimize mistakes in that corner. A lot of front light up there down the back straightaway for Constantino as she comes up on Connor Morse.
Yeah, some of the youngest drivers at HTL on your screen right now. If you added their ages together, there are some drivers in the field who would still be older.
Feel old?
Of course, Connor Morse winning in New Smyrna in the first, it was a non-points race, but it was the first official event of Speed Weeks. Getting out of the way for the leaders.
Kyle Taub had an issue in the bus stop, but he's back rolling again. 16, sitting, I believe, currently in the 14th position, if my timing is serving me correctly here.
Looks like it, yep. So here's the thing. Rudy has lost 3/10 to Bia in the last lap. So...
Yes, have a second.
Yeah, Constantino could potentially take stage 1 if it stays this way, because we're coming to 3 to go. That's still a long time, but
yeah,
something to keep in mind. Here's a look, not at your reigning champion, Zachary Meredith, not here today. This is Byron Jones making his first start of the year. I believe his first start of his career in HTL.
Correct, absolutely. Doing a pretty decent job with that.
From Goodyear, Arizona. And yeah, taking the champs machine and putting it just outside the top 10, fighting with Hunter Peach for that 10th position right now. So good start. Great to see young talent always coming in, fresh talent. No, don't necessarily have to be young, but fresh talent coming into HTL and showing what they're worth. And it's a handful of debutantes out front right now. Constantino, Valentin, Acosta, all making their first starts today. Phenomenal
job. Especially, again, at how difficult this track is. We've seen a lot of drivers with a lot of experience get caught out. Very impressed with how everything looks so far. As Leo's Bianca being a little bit greedy there going into the chicane there. You don't want to tap that wall too awful hard. These cars are a little bit more sensitive, and that includes the bodywork.
Absolutely. You can see the front 4 kind of on a breakaway. 10 seconds clear of Shad Swatsworth is Ruby Acosta. There is Shad now, just to give you a really good idea of how much, the contact at the start of the race really changed the course of things as Scott Sprinkle's gone around in the number 20, but also how, Callie Height loses it too. Yeah. She continues to try to recover. She's only down in 12th, mind you. That's just how far off the pace she is from the leaders, as a combination of the pace of Constantino and this top 4, as well as how much time the field basically lost in that turn 1 collision that pretty well blocked the track.
It is closing back up again. Rudy beginning to answer the question, but with a couple laps left in stage 1. Stage 1 ends up the end of lap 10. Catching's one thing, passing's another. We say that a lot at tracks that are not Daytona, but now we have to say that Daytona for the first time.
Yeah,
a lot different to get to and pass.
Likewise, one small mistake from Bia and the tables turned, just like it happened with Rudy. He was in the front of the field, in charge, didn't seem like anything was going wrong, and suddenly found himself backwards. So, doesn't take much for the same thing to happen to Bia. Or both of them. I mean, we almost saw Rodriguez and Constantinu take each other out when they were fighting for the lead, but I'm impressed right now with that 31 of Ruby Acosta. She has slowly been closing in and has a chance for some podium finishing in this stage at the very least, but definitely looks like a threat in the race for a podium. On debut, we know she's good, but doing very nicely for Lady Liberty Motorsports.
She'll be splitting most of her time, I think, with the Queen's Design cars. She'll have a number 40 with their name on it for part of the season as well. Really just kind of taking on a part-time effort here this season, kind of getting up to speed with this car. Completely different than what we see in the Admin Box Cup Series on Wednesday evenings. Way different type of vehicle there, as I believe that's Valentine in pit lane.
And he's not alone. Josh Gaiman also has gone into the pits. So, or at least it showed that he was in the pit. May have been an issue there, but Valentine does pit with 2 laps to go now. So should inherit the lead once the caution comes out, trying to short pit here and get the lead back after the stage break. Of course, racing part-time only cares about the race win, doesn't care about the points, so it doesn't really matter, and he's only going to filter out into 10th place anyway with all the gap he had. That's Callie Height right behind him, so a little bit of strategy on hand, and Height's gone loose. Yeah, nearly goes around again. Hangs on to it this time, though. Bia out nice and lonely in the 96 machine.
Find off much about that. The pit window we thought was going to be between 12 and 14 laps. Obviously, Valentine thinking, "Hey, I'll go ahead and take the under on that."
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy from someone who had so much pace anyway. But I think he might have expected more people to try and pit at the end of the stage. The track position you gain from that is I mean, it's a lot, and your odds of going a lap down are very small with how large the track is. So effectively,
we also think about the conversation here going on though. Bianca's in a charter ride, so the points matter for that car. Points matter for 31. That is a missed corner for
Moutre.
Yeah, Moutre. He was already a lap down, having to go through a slowdown there for that as well. But you look at the 96, 31, 18, 61, 64. All those are chartered cars needing the stage points here. Valentine can throw it away a little bit more. Rodriguez didn't, which is interesting. I think Valentine was just in the wrong crowd to do that with, but it shouldn't affect himself much, because if stage 1 happens and we get a caution, then he gets right back to the front of the field because everyone else is going to pit after him, and he's still only in the top 10.
Yeah.
So not a bad call. Like, you don't lose in that situation.
No, you don't. You'd cycle back to the front anyway, so it's not... Because the caution comes out for the stage, so it's one of those... I'm pitting now. He's going to have slightly more worn tires, of course, but I just found it interesting because he had a lot of pace. I think maybe he had burned through a lot of that stuff early, and of course the spin didn't help him either, so try and get some fresh tires on and set yourself up for getting the lead back, which is fairly important with the track position.
Figure out where everyone stands, though, at the end of this stage. Constantinu. Wide open road.
About to become the first Romanian driver to win a stage in HTL. Valentine gets around Roberts for 9th on speed as well. So, not that he necessarily needs to, but does anyway. And this should bring out the caution this time around as Bia comes to take the... nearly loses it in the last quarter, but should come to take the flag. And she will win stage 1. First career stage win for Bia. And
I believe the reminder's got to be put out that I believe caution comes out for the stage once the 10th place driver crosses our finish line.
Which is currently Brennan Roberts, who's making his way into the final corner now. As you see the field ahead, that's Rudy Valentine just ahead of him. So So it'll be Constantinu Rodriguez Acosta getting third in her first stage. Shad Swatsworth, Josh Gaiman, John Hagan, Hunter Peach, Byron Jones, Rudy Valentine, and Bren Roberts, the top 10. And now, any minute now, we should see the caution be displayed. And there it is.
There we go.
So a lot of first-time starters dominating so far. You'd have to find Shad Swatsworth for a regular, quote-unquote, of course. Joel Rodriguez making a start at Daytona, but Constantinu, Acosta, and Valentine all on debuts today, as is Byron Jones, who finishes 8th as well. So good stage for them. And the caution flies for the first time tonight, as it will only fly for one more time after this as well.
Everyone gonna take the long lap around to get back to the pace car.
Which is going to take a minute because they had to wait for the 10th place car to cross the line to throw the caution. So they will have to go a whole nother lap pretty much, which will effectively add or take another lap off of the stage 2. Since they don't adjust the stage caution laps, it just means this stage is going to be 1 lap shorter. But we kind of knew that. Tends to happen on the ovals without too much of a bother or a notice. It's more of a problem on the road courses when the leader is half a racetrack ahead.
Yeah. I believe Jake Millsap be the first car a lap down, so I believe he'll get the free pass, I do believe.
Which is going to be pain, because a free pass here is great.
It's a nightmare.
But a free pass here means you effectively don't get a caution flag. So
no, you really don't. You get to spend 1 lap off pace.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately go, 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 because you don't want to get left behind.
Exactly. Which I would imagine they'll probably want to wave him through now if they can, so that he may not have an opportunity to pit. Though I think he will, because of how slow the pace speed is on this track. These caution laps are excruciatingly long, so I think he'll be okay. But only the top 4 has caught up, and that's not even the top 4, because one of those cars is a lap down, so only the podium has caught the pace car thus far on what is effectively the 2nd lap of caution now.
Now everyone's starting to kind of catch up here. You're seeing a lot more cars filing in.
Yeah,
Byron Jones, Valentine, Roberts. There's the 50 of Proudfoot. He's running there. There's Callie Height there, just outside the top 10 and 12th. So they're starting to finally catch up here. There's a giant gaggle of cars that were all together, obviously from that lap 1 spin. It started at the front of the field. Obviously, you talk about Kaylin Height, obviously suffering from that. She was in the top 5 when that accident took place. So very difficult there. And I think we're going to actually pull up how this all started. Now we have a chance to actually look at it under our first caution of the race.
Yeah, so this is going to be one that's going to grab a lot of ire and controversy from drivers and viewers and staff alike, I'm sure. It all starts off here in turn number 1. Gaiman goes in a bit deep here. 3 wide. Oh, is that Sprinkle in the 20 that gets clipped? They're all just trying to sort themselves out. What happens right in front of her? Who is that?
I think that's Proudfoot. Yeah,
yes,
I think that's
it
Proudfoot
is.
in the 50.
And then
Sosi gets a piece of it.
And the track is blocked here, which is why a lot of drivers are going to be upset, because the rule states that if there's a large crash on the opening lap, typically they will throw a caution on road courses. I don't know what you would call that other than a track blocker. See, Peltier Sharp is stopped in the middle of the track. Not sure if she stalled the car. You can see the 90 trying to get the car back under control there after going off. Gets into the 24. So we'll have another look at it here. So it's Proudfoot that gets turned in the 50. So that black and blue car second on the outside lane. Did he get help from Hagen, or did he lose it on his own, I wonder? Oh, he lost it on his own. And then, I mean, everybody. And this is going to be a sight to see, because then you get this situation where there's 8 cars just stopped on the side of the racetrack like that, 7 cars.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Lily... Let's see if Lily... I think Lily may have just stopped, seeing that the track was blocked, and may have shut the car out, because she was quite deep in the field.
Yeah.
See if we can't ride on board here.
Kind of, so looking through the rulebook here, like they had the rulebook on hand. So the rule that everyone's thinking about from last season, if there's a caution on the opening lap, a caution can be thrown. That was removed for this season. It was not in the rulebook when it was posted back in July, and that was the first adjustment of the rulebook. That was the first draft of the rulebook for this season, and it's not in the finalized version that came out last month.
Yeah,
So they took it away because, again, there's no live admin staff. And they didn't want to leave it up to interpretation, so they removed it entirely. And you can argue the semantics over whether or not that's good or bad, but the consistency is that if they can't call it, they do not want to have to leave it to a judgment call and then have to penalize somebody if it wasn't worthy of a caution.
I mean, I'm a racer. I'm
Absolutely
about the enemy of I'm the enemy of race control, but it doesn't take a genius.
Me and you are in the same boat. Me and you are in the same boat. There should have been a caution on that, because one of the people that have the ability to sort of override that were in the accident.
Yeah, we're looking at him. Yeah. Well, even if he wasn't, I don't know. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. That was a bit silly not to be a caution. But
oh no, there's a spin. Someone's been spun. That's Hunter Whitlock off the nose of Selena Thompson.
Oh no.
Under caution, the 10 has spun the 19 on the back straightaway.
I wonder what precipitates that. I think they were trying to catch...
I'm not entirely sure, but Whitlock's not going to be too awful happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and showing his displeasure for that on the back straightaway, entering the bus stop, got completely turned sideways.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
By the 10.
I think they were trying to catch the pace car, and I don't know exactly why they were following so closely, but I think they, not sure about that. We do know that HTL is, at least they've said, they're trying to make an effort to make those sort of incidents not go unnoticed, such as what we had last year, where it was a bit of a demo derby a lot of the time. I think that might be something for them to look at. But Ruby Acosta leads from Angel Santiago and Rudy Valentine at the moment. So, interesting strategies here. But Ruby, who finished 3rd in her first stage in HTL, will lead us down to the green. And now Santiago pits in the number 90 machine. So,
job stay on the lead lap as well, because he was behind all that melee on lap 1. Easily could have been caught up in it, and obviously made it work. And he was hoping to get a lap lead point out of that, but Acosta was really quick in and out of pit lane before Santiago could really get to the front of the field there. You talk about, again, how long this lap is. If you come out of pit lane in time, you can really mess with people's strategies.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Just trying to get those bonus points.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if Rudy came in for fuel or what happened to I don't know if he stayed out, but either way, Acosta leads in the 31 on her debut. Of course, we didn't expect her to make a debut in this car. We more or less expected her to make a debut on a car that looks very similar to the one that's on screen now of Callie Height, who, by the way, has rebounded to 7th after things have shuffled out after her spin, so she's about back where she was. But yeah, the Mexican-born driver from Los Angeles absolutely putting on a show right now in that 31 machine. Good for her. She'll start alongside Rudy Valentine. We'll see what they can do. A pairing we haven't seen too often. See Ruby there. Got Gaiman just behind this as well, so don't count him out, as he'll restart third.
Very pressure cooker level top 5. If you look at Acosta, Valentine, Gaiman, Constantini, Rodriguez, Wadsworth, not too far out of the question either if he can get that 18 back underneath of him for this stage. Callie Height in 7th. We know she's good. This is a track that kind of speaks to her wheelhouse here. Hagan in 8th. Not going to be too awful bad there in that 64 car sitting there in row 4. Proudfoot recovering nicely from that lap 1 accident. And then Kyle Taub, obviously a race winner in the AB and Champ car, having these a little bit more finesse to get through the top 10 here as he starts in row 5.
We didn't get a chance really to talk about it because of how fast the situation at the start of the race was unfolding, but 4 drivers to keep an eye on. Well, 3 of them are on your screen right now. Bia, Josh, and Rudy on the front 2 rows. And Katie Height would be right up there as well if she wasn't caught up in that crash, Carmen. And we had some keys to the race as well. The brakes going to be important to stop these cars effectively. Patience is going to matter. We didn't see much of that in turn 1. And racing the racetrack is going to matter too, because it seems like most of the incidents today, especially from our leaders, have been self-inflicted and not as a result of battling with one another. So all these things still pertinent as we get ready for the penultimate restart of this race. And here's our picks to win, since we didn't get to quite look at that one either. You have your money on Bia. I put my money on Rudy, and the computer thinks that Gaiman's going to do it. And so far, well, they're all in the top 5. So at least everybody's got a good idea. I think Ruby Acosta trying to be the spoiler, though, in that 31. And we've got trouble already as they've spun. Green flag is going to come out. They're not going to... You can't delay the caution, so another crash. There's Whitlock backwards as well. And Cole Snyder. So a mistake coming to the green, but we're back underway. And Acosta leads them down.
Here, obviously, I think we'll leave. Obviously, main camera's going to focus on this battle through. I'll see if I can go back and see what happened there coming to the green, because this is going to be a nightmare scenario here. And Hunter Whitlock's going to be the one that kind of spins here as we look a little bit backwards. Again, he's the number 19, the Oreo machine.
Well, the 24 was the first one around. The 19 also spun, so...
Wonder if there's contact here. Oh, this is off the nose, I believe, of the 20 of Scott Sprinkle. 24 is Snyder. If we get a good camera angle on this, I believe. Topper camera, I believe, yeah, the 20 is going to end up, I think, just kind of running into him here, avoiding that curbing.
Yeah, net code. But I think they were destined to make contact anyway, and I think as the 24 gets hit here, or doesn't get hit actually, but just comes across, several cars involved. And look at this, a little bit of tandem draft, a little bump drafting. It's going to be side-by-side for the lead with Gaiman and Acosta into the chicane. And look at Acosta on that second phase of braking, hanging on to the lead. But now this opens the door, and Gaiman's going to go to the bottom, and he's going to take the lead from her. And Rudy Valentine going to try to follow suit, but a nice little battle with the top 3 as it stands.
Santini, who has struggled to get those tires of the temperature, drop behind Rodriguez and Hagan down to 6th. She's got some work to do now.
Oh, Valentine sent it into the last corner. Got right up to the gearbox of Josh Gaiman, but Gaiman leads for Stepping Stone. And Acosta falling backwards just a little bit, but good defense headed into the chicane there. I was surprised, Carmen, that she made the corner with how much later it was the second phase of braking where she kind of lifted off the brakes a little more. I think it compromised her exit through that final sector. Oh, and Gaiman goes wide. Wheel hopped a little bit, overdrove the corner, and now really letting it hang out. Side by side, now gets back to the lead somehow ahead of Valentine, but these drivers are struggling massively for grip.
These tires at the temperature, these tires very heat sensitive. There's an out the window. You want to try to get them in, and obviously as the lights go down and the track cools, it gets hard to get those tires into that range, which is a great thing once you get them there. But getting them there gets a lot more painful.
I'll tell you what, though, the brakes help, and they are absolutely ablaze right now. A little bit deep again for Gaiman, but gotta get that exterior line, gonna get a little bit of momentum up there, maybe a little side draft even. Gonna tuck in behind the 91 for now. No dice yet, but might pull out and try another attempt down the back straightaway here. See them they were side by side, now nose to tail. Look at the brakes glowing on both of our leaders as they make their way through and into the Le Mans chicane. Oh, big hit to the curb for Gaiman.
Huge.
Oh, and there goes Acosta hard into the wall. And that car is destroyed. That's a day ender, I'm afraid.
It really is.
From someone who had such a wonderful debut. That's unfortunate. And that is 100% the Turtles. And I'm surprised Gaiman's not worse off as well, but
he almost got both of the Turtles on the inside and outside of that bus stop.
He had to completely cut the bus stop to not hit the other Turtle, and unfortunately for Acosta, she's in the pit lane, and I'm almost certain that's day done for the 31 machine, which is a shame because she had a brilliant little race going. It's not the last we'll see of her in this series, but it's a shame that her debut ends like this, or at least ends in contention. But Valentin, in the midst of this, extends his lead now to 2 seconds, and with some major contenders either having issues or out of the race, he should be pretty smooth sailing. But the last time we said that, he made a mistake on his own, so we'll see how long that lasts.
A little bit further back, Constantino's gotten back to the third position around the 57 of Rodriguez. And I believe an issue with John Hagan has allowed Callie Height to move up from 7th at the start of the stage into the top 5.
Yeah. Bailed out of her mistake with that stage break caution. I mean, everybody kind of bailed out on the start there. If you're wondering where Caitlin Height's at, still trying to make her way back up through the field. She's currently in 36, so I think she's had an issue.
Caitlin Height is done. She was retired on the spot.
Yeah, so. Oh, yeah, because no quick repair.
Trouble.
Gaiman. That's in the bus stop again.
Bit him.
Yeah.
I think it finally bit him that time. I don't know how much damage is on that 61
I think
Ford.
it's just a spin unless he's got mechanical damage that we don't see on the shell, but yeah.
That's rough. Selena Thompson's also towed back to pit lane, as well as Byron Jones, it looks like.
Yeah, it's starting to take a toll on these drivers.
Attrition beginning to take effect 100% here. I'm just kind of looking back, seeing how
you're right.
And
Valentin blows T1 there, nearly goes off the track. He does a nice job to keep it on the black stuff and not get out into the tarmac there, or into the concrete rather.
Don't be greedy.
No, he doesn't need to be either. He's got such a nice lead. Bia is fast, but I feel like Bia's gone through her tires a lot more, but it seems like Valentin, I don't know, he's been really struggling in this middle phase of the run. So, I don't know. Keep posted. Joel Rodriguez might be your winner tonight.
Yeah, you kind of keep an eye on that. Bianca kind of putting in some good lap times right now. Gaiman clipped the curbing like what we saw the lap before.
Yeah.
Did not tag the wall. It was just a simple spin. But obviously not friendly for the 61 in this stanza here.
God, Bia's tires are on fire, and she's nearly lost the rear end there, wheel hopping everywhere. This thing, I mean, the way the rims are glowing, it looks like something out of Cyberpunk. It looks like it's part of the car's livery with how much orange there is on it. Absolutely on it. And this is where driving aggressive makes her so fast, but it can really cost her because she is going to be chewing up the Goodyears doing that. Look at that.
Those Goodyears are going to be screaming.
Oh, yeah. And you
nailed that. Nailed that bus stop, though.
She
Looked
did.
really good in it.
She did, but I'm seeing how much that car is swinging around and how much she's sliding all over the place, and I really... I don't know how long she could do that. We saw this on her debut in Champ Car at Suzuka. She ran up front all day long, was driving the car as if her life depended upon it.
Just missed the chicane. Just missed the last part of the chicane. So slow down there for the 61, for the 96, I should say.
She's a very talented driver, but nobody can run on the limit like that forever.
A little bit too deep there into the chicane.
When you run 110% all the time, you're bound to screw up eventually. That's not a mark of a good or bad driver. That's just how it works. You can see how much she's fighting it compared to somebody like Joel Rodriguez or Rudy Valentine right now. So it's a very impressive. It's very fun to watch as well, but I'm not sure. We ride on board with her now. This is going to be... Oh, you can hear how aggressively she's downshifting too, Carmen. Listen in.
Very aggressive there. You saw the brakes light up there. The rears are lighting up more, and they're staying lit up longer. So a lot of the load's on the rear of that car right now.
Yeah, listen here. Listen as it goes up through the gears, but then listen as she goes into the bus stop. This is where it's really going to get interesting for her. Do you hear how high in the rev band she's putting that car? Running very high revs, working the car all over the place. Very, very interesting way to approach it, because a lot of drivers, I do prefer to shift high like that. I like that engine braking, but that's so risky because you just open yourself up to wheel hop, and you open yourself up to potentially redlining the engine and hurting the engine as she grabs the wall again in the last corner.
For a lack of trying in the 96 car tonight.
Let's compare this to Valentine here as we ride on board with him. Much slower shifts. Not quite as aggressive. Still aggressive, but look at how much he's working the wheel there.
Cars entering pit lane here.
Sosi and Roberts.
As we get ready to approach the end of the stage. We're on lap 20. Stage ends on lap 22.
Peach is in as well. And yeah, Costa's night is done, unfortunately. So see, the Daytona 300 winner gets rolling again here after his scheduled stop, as you're saying, Carmen.
Yeah, Costa did a phenomenal job tonight. Unfortunately, just one mistake was all it takes. And we know how good Acosta is. We know we'll see Acosta again in this season. I mean, I have a tip of the hat just to get to the race lead the way she did and fight for it with some amazing drivers. There's going to be a lot more from that. There's going to be a lot more from Ruby going through. Once we see her again, especially in the Queen's Design car when she's going to be at home. It's going to be a lot easier, I think, for her, and I think she's going to be able to kind of put some really good results and grab some hardware.
Well, absolutely. We all knew that she's very impressive, but very good. But I was thoroughly impressed with how she was driving that race car up until that incident. And same could be said right now for Bianca and Rudy. They're doing fantastic jobs, but they've both made a couple mistakes here and there. Ruby has not up until then. So she's out of the race. So her one mistake she made was a lot larger. But I don't know. I'm glad it's not the last we're going to see of her, but she did a nice job there as you see some lap cars moving out of the way. Top 10 as it runs is Rudy Valentine from Bia Constantinou, Joel Rodriguez, Brandon Proudfoot, Callie Height, Eli Sasek, Josh Gaiman, Scott Sprinkle, Shad Swatsworth, and John Hagan. That is the lapped car of Kyle Taub moving over for race leader Rudy Valentine, as they will be coming to the stage. Caution this time by, I believe. And that should...
22. So we got 2 laps left in the stage.
2 to go, sorry.
Oh, 4, the last spot in the stage, I believe, between Swatsworth and Hagen.
That is for the 9th position. Henderson is in 11th, a little bit further back, but they are fighting over the bottom end of the point scoring positions with Sprinkle, Swatsworth, and Hagen.
And we've seen, as this race has been so far, a slight mistake. And Henderson
right there.
just got some stage points, so yeah.
And Sprinkle might be the one to make it, is they will now drop to 10th place. A little bit of bump drafting on the oval portion as John Hagen gives a shot to Shad Swatsworth now, and they make their way down the back straightaway.
Down Lake Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
To the bus stop. Everyone
Shad.
having to tiptoe through it.
Yeah, absolutely, but it looks like Shad's got the advantage right now in the number 18, but Hagen's going to get some draft here, not going to be pushing for a whole lot longer, now thinking about fighting, because both of these two are fighting for points, so these stage points actually do matter a bit to them.
Absolutely, yeah, they're worried about, points and championship battles. Shad has always been, I think, for the last couple of seasons at least, captain stage points.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he's gotten most of those the points last season before he got his race win. Really had to rely on getting those points wherever he could get them. Right now, 3 points in this stage if he can hold on to that 8th spot. As we look on board, Callie Height looking back at Eli Sasek.
Yeah, Sasek and Gaiman were fighting over the 6th position that time by, so battles up and down the field for those stage points, but it's all behind Rudy Valentine and Bia Constantinou, who have opened up a massive gap to the field. Rudy Valentine even more so, 7 seconds now clear of Bia on this time around. So providing he doesn't make mistakes today, Rudy is probably going to win this race, but we've already seen him make a couple of mistakes, so that's the critical thing. And we know Bia is going to be aggressive on that final restart, so still a little bit left to go.
I wouldn't call things too early either, because there's still going to be a green flag pit stop in stage 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a confirmed thing. You cannot save enough fuel to make it without stopping in the stage. That'll bail out, I think. That'll be an interesting little wrinkle to see who's got the right strategy call, who pits when, and obviously been managing cold tires under green conditions from the start. That's a completely different challenge. Drivers have had the ability to sort of warm up the tires at the pit stops during these stage breaks. You won't get to do that. It is go from the moment you leave pit lane. You just got to manage it.
Absolutely. But Rudy Valentine has managed the 2nd stage quite nicely and will take the checkers to win his first stage of his HTL career. 2 debutantes winning the stages so far tonight. Bia Constantinou and Rudy swapping around. Well, actually, Rudy wasn't 2nd because he made an early pit stop, but Bia winning stage 1. Joel Rodriguez has been in the top 3 for both. Proudfoot comes 4th, and Height will get 5th with Sasek, Gaiman, Hagen, and Swatsworth. And Scott Sprinkle will get that final position as they cross the line now, and that should trigger the caution flag. So the final caution of the day will fly. And they will begin the journey to go find the pace car. But congrats to Rudy Valentine getting his first career stage win in HTL. New Jersey native. Still pretty much going at full song since he has to go catch the pace car, so even though the caution is out and the field is neutralized, he still kind of has to hustle around to go catch the safety car, which is waiting for him around turn 2. Likewise for everybody behind, because the gaps are so large, the field effectively is still pretty much everywhere. As you can see, most of the field still in the infield. So a lot of these cars are actually going to be catching and having to continue a whole lap around the field. Santiago, for example, here, who is just now coming through turn 1, the safety car, I believe is at the pit entry. So he's just cleared it and has to go a whole lap still before Rudy Valentine, who should be catching it now as he crosses the line.
And imagine having to save fuel if you were in that situation. That would be rough.
Yeah, it's almost a good thing that we know we're going to be guaranteed a caution, or a green flag pit stop, rather, because we're guaranteed not to have a caution. So there will be no fuel mileage involved. There is the safety car, and there is Valentin, Constantinu, and Rodriguez, the three main players that remain in tonight's race.
Chance for everyone to regroup. See who makes the most of that advantage, and see what everyone's learned from the first half of this race.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot to unpack after the checkered flag, but we still got you covered on ABN2 after the checkered flag flies. Carmen will be giving you all the juicy details of that in the ABN victory lane, which will be afterwards. Of course, had a issue with programming in real life with some issues with Spectrum, which is why we weren't able to give you Countdown to Green tonight, but never fear, the post-race show, as they say, must go on. So it's going to be a fairly short one tonight. Of course, we're about halfway through the race. No more cautions. Straightforward. It's a road course. If you're finding yourself watching this one and waiting for the next oval, you don't have to wait very long. Next week, we will be back in another Floridian oval, but we finally get to leave Daytona, which, as much as I love this place, some variety is nice. It's going to be Miami next, and that should be a fun one, Carmen.
Absolutely. I think Homestead's going to be a lot of fun. It's a track that I think a lot of drivers personally love. I know it's a track that both of us really enjoy. And I think that's also going to be another sunset race, I believe. So it's going to be pretty scenic being here in Florida. And then it's going to be almost jarring once we leave Florida, once we leave Homestead at the end of next week. Just kind of jumping up, moving into the actual meat of the schedule will go from Homestead to Pocono. That's going to be a culture shock. Pocono, Fontana, Road America after that.
Some incredible racetracks to open the season. This is probably one of the more oddball tracks to open the schedule. They almost have crashed behind the pace car again. It seems like we're having a lot of issues with the pacing, and I think, Carmen, that probably is because the safety cars on road courses tend to be a bit, there's no other way to put it, incredibly slow. Which is great if you have to repair damage, but not for much else. See some of the drivers, we talked about this at Daytona, the oval a week ago, is that these cars are so slow on the banking, they start to kind of slide off, which is why we saw some issues earlier. I think if we look back at the incident, which I'm sure you will in post-race, with what happened with Selena Thompson and Hunter Whitlock, it probably was something relating to that, as the field will come in, and we will get to see the battle on pit road. Valentin brings them all down, and I believe everybody's going to come in. I don't think anybody tried any sneaky things there. Though Bren Roberts will stay out in the 33, as will Sosi. So we did see them pit, that is fair, earlier on. So they will cycle to the front. But they shouldn't be too much of a factor because they pit fairly early into the stage. Valentin, Constantinu, the first two off of pit road. Rodriguez, a slow pit stop. Likewise for Height, or I guess you could say that Proudfoot and Gaiman had pretty fast stops. Proudfoot back to fifth after being one of the first cars around in the Turn 1 massacre. But Bren Roberts and Josh Sosi on the front of the field. Your Daytona 300 winner and one of the cars who had to race his way in. We make up a bunch of fun catchphrases for Sosi, but it seems like the one that may stick around is that the mail always gets delivered, Carmen. We always see him at the front at some point thus far in all of Speed Weeks. He may not stay there, he may not finish there, but we always see that 81 in the top 5 for a matter of time, be it strategy, pace, or what have you.
Yeah, I think he's a lot of people's sleeper pick. I think as far as making a deep championship run this season, Obviously, we saw him as race control last season. He stepped in the car for Lady Liberty Motorsports. Going to be very interesting seeing how his season progresses, but he's already won at the plate track, and now he's showing some resolve here on the road course. I don't think he pit, though.
No, he and Roberts both stayed out. They pit.
Well, I don't think Sosi's pit since lap 12.
Oh, I thought he had, but I could be wrong.
I'm not seeing the information on my screen. You could have it on yours, but I haven't seen it on mine to know for sure. I know Roberts put on lap 19. We saw that. I'm not sure about Sosi yet or not. To know for sure. If he did pit on lap 19, then props to him for flying underneath my my radar at this, because I've only got the lap 12 pit stop tracked. But either way, it's going to be interesting seeing how these drivers handle, because that means either way they will have to pit first under the third stage here. They will have to pit under green first and see where things shake out. That may not be a bad thing, though.
No, because everybody has to make at least one pit stop. And these two can make it on one more stop. So effectively, they just start really poorly in the start, and they have to make sure they have enough tire at the end. It's kind of, I think the track position matters so much that as long as they don't get turned, they'll net gain from this, because we've already seen it. The front of the field kind of separates from the rest because of just the nature of this track. So, yeah, lots of things there to keep tabs on. Of course, Rudy Valentine and Constantino, I don't think will take too long to get through these drivers, but I think they're Sosi and company are kind of shooting for top 10s, top 15s kind of runs here, which I think they very much could do realistically.
Coming back down pit lane, hopping off the fuel.
Yep, Hunter Peach, Fontana race winner. Josh Arnold comes in as well as Eli Sasek, and we saw for a moment that Ruby Acosta's back on track, several laps down, but is scoring some points for some drivers who may not make it to the end. So she fights on, 31st in the car number 31, and 3 laps off the pace, but it looks like she's got the car back to running order, currently ahead of Selena Thompson, Connor Morse, Ryan Moutre, Lily Pelletier Sharp, and Katie Height, who will be scored last, which not what we were expecting out of the 11 car tonight. Obviously caught up in the melee in T1 and was not able to recover. But hey, there's still a Height in the top 10. Her partner, Callie, sits in 8th position and is making a nice debut for herself. Was pretty gutted not to make Daytona, but makes Daytona road course, where she is definitely seeming a bit more comfortable on the road course sides of things. For oval experience, not to the same caliber as her road course experience, but she's looking to change that here, of course, has run plenty in court.
Oh, no!
And Constantino
just tagged the wall.
And that's some significant damage to the 96 machine. Under caution, no less. Let's take a look at it. How on earth? Oh, don't tell me. Oh. She's just dropped it. Under safety car. There was no contact, or?
No, there wasn't any.
She just...
I'm not sure what happened there for Bianca to run that wide.
Just not paying attention, really. Probably a high gear to save some fuel, no engine braking, not paying much attention. You'd want to hope that there was a mechanical issue with a wheel or something going wrong. You would hope that
yeah, that car
that's
is
significant damage.
Okay. Yeah, that's radiator damage more likely.
Probably
how
lost
much front impact that was.
Yeah, probably lost some revs. This is going to cause chaos on the start too, because she doesn't lose her positions. Look at the damage on that car.
She never dropped to 0. She never dropped to a stop. You have to return to the 4th position here. This is not gonna be pretty.
That puts a punctuation on a night that has been not at the caliber of the 300, and now she seems to really be struggling with. I don't know if she's having a wheel issue of some sort at this point, because she's struggling to keep gaps now, and now she's pulling to the rear. I think she's getting EOL'd, which is that's the right move. I don't know if that was her decision. I don't know if that was her call or race control, but whoever decided to do that, that was probably the safest thing to do. But they did it a bit too late, I feel, because now they're going to all cork into this final corner. Yeah, I don't know.
Looks like she's going to get away with it here.
I think she will. Roberts Associate will lead us down, though. Everybody on the outside moves up a lane. Green flag is out for the final time tonight. Oh, and they're wrecking behind. And it's another...
Millsap's involved. I believe that's Hagen that's got a piece of it as well.
They're still wrecking, too. It's hard to tell. Taub's in it, I think. Or no, he never even caught up. Breo was one of the first cars around, as was Denny. Those were the two big losers. Lots of cars shuffled around.
And I believe it's Hagen and Swatsworth that started it all off.
Yeah, let's see if we can go split screen here. Replay on the right-hand side.
Yep, replay on the right side, or obviously we're looking at Hagen. He's going to send it in deep there. Breo in the 88, I think, is going to get away with this for the most part. But Hagen under braking just locks up.
Oh, yeah, clobbers Swatsworth, and as everybody tries to react, they all run each other over again.
Donaldson got turned around there.
There's the 19 of Whitlock off the track. There's Acosta, who comes to a stop pretty much, trying to not be in the way as a off the pace car. See if we can't get another look at that from... Yeah, oh, and there you see the 99 car went around of Elias Flores as well in the International Horseshoe. So,
yeah, it was a mess there. And obviously Bia came down pit lane, I believe. Actually, may not have come down pit lane. May have kept that car out running.
No, she's still running. She's 27th as it stands. She actually had gained some positions as a result of the melee, but they've since passed her back. Here's the 88 of Breo. This is the reaction crash, basically, just ahead. Because the wreck's going to start in front of them, yeah.
And you'll see Hagen in the 64 are going to send it right to the bottom. And you're going to see that car step out with the rear first. A lot of rearward brakes on cold tires.
It's gone at that point.
Yeah, front's grip up, unfortunately, and there's just nothing that Breo can do in that situation at all.
Yeah, I take it back. It wasn't a reaction crash. Hagen
got
2 for 1. He hit the 7-10 split. And then Hagen's in the middle of the track now. Henderson tries to react and clips the 13.
Because Millsap's trying to not go off the track. There's Pendel and Zero of Wanzing.
Yeah, it's just a mess at that point.
And then you see it was the 21 of Denny that got turned, not the 22 of Donaldson. I was wrong on that.
Swatsworth with not the optimal re-entry, and I mean, when no cautions come out, you're kind of scrambling, right? So.
And then this is further on down. This is going to the horseshoe.
This is the butterfly effect of the wreck already. Still kind of echoing throughout here. And then Elias just.
Oh, wow. Just loops that. Trying to get on the throttle, just kind of.
It almost looks like he grabbed the wrong gear or something, but I don't know how, because that was in the middle of the corner. So it looked like it jumped around faster than just too much accelerator, but I'm not really sure at this point. Bia has brought it down pit lane now. She will retire the car now as well. She will be scored 27th, and much like what we saw from Ruby Acosta, not the result she deserved. Be very interested to see what happened there to cause her to have, honestly, a very embarrassing accident under the caution. And there is a big mistake again from Gaiman, who has been pushing his luck on the chicanes all night long. And he will cut the chicane. And I'm sure he will have to give up a lot of time there. Callie Height probably going to be none too pleased to have to deal with that.
Two race each other quite a lot. In the ABN side of things, both of them race in the LMP2 class in the Sports Car Championship that has the week off this week. Yeah, so we see against each other. another series.
Remember when we
Maybe
talked
another
about
Muscat series.
Bren Roberts and Josh Sosi benefiting in a net gain?
Yeah, huge benefit there.
Yeah, because they were ahead of the track blocker, so they now continue to stay in second and third with Brandon Proudfoot putting the pressure onto Sosi. And again, they all have to pit. And the gaps already are quite heavy. It is 12 seconds, 13 seconds from Josh Sosi, who runs third, down to 10th of Zach Apperson in the 4 car. So they're coming on to stock car 1. To put that into perspective, there's Apperson. He's just come out of the West Horseshoe. And is under heavy fire with Swatsworth and Wansing. So, and he goes for a slide and he can't catch it.
He tried catching it, but just tried applying throttle after he
thought he had it, and then yeah. You can see the leaders in the background on the back straightaway, and he will only fall to, looks like 20th with that. So, not ideal, but when the field gets strung out like that, yeah, and they're just now getting on to stock car 1, and Valentine is there, and there comes Roberts. Proudfoot has gotten Sosi, but overall, great game for those two to stay out.
Yeah,
Smart
for Sosi,
play.
that was very smart, and for Roberts, even better, because that 33 car's chartered for 1MA Racing. Roberts, not, I don't think, full-time in that situation, but that charter is going to be very important as far as the points that it gains here tonight.
Absolutely. You can see Gaiman really working that 61 machine, and this is pretty much Rudy Valentine's race to lose now, because every one of his contenders today that have had a realistic shot to do something about him being here, one by one, have fallen out of contention. Yeah. But you can see he is still fighting that car a bit as well. The brakes are just so red on that car, both front and rear, and we know how much rear brake he's using to begin with, so when he gets the fronts glowing that aggressively, I mean, you can see it, Carmen, all the way, pretty much the entire infield, that rear brake disc is effectively on fire. He's not on the brakes right now. They're just that hot.
Yeah. Yeah, those brakes.
They're still glowing,
point,
and he's halfway through stock car 2, so, yeah.
Yeah, those brakes will go over 300 degrees Fahrenheit easily.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the more you use them, the hotter they get, because their base temperature just stays up.
This is the front brake, too, the one which he uses less of as he heads through the bus stop chicane. You can see how much less of it he uses because it's pretty much done glowing already, but I almost guarantee you when he comes by here, you'll see some faint remnants on that rear tire. So, yeah, interesting. On a day that has been very much Rudy's to lose. He didn't get the first stage, but doing quite nicely, and Brandon Proudfoot rebounding from an incident on the first lap. Back up to second now.
Pretty phenomenal job so far.
And we know Proudfoot's quite good at the road courses as well, so not a surprise to see him up here, but just a surprise to see him rebound from being spinning himself out rather at the start. Likewise for Gaiman, getting caught up in his teammates' shenanigans there. Both of them have had a nice rebound. Joel Rodriguez is still around. He's hanging in 6th, still having a fantastic run in the 57 machine. Looks like the chances for a podium might be slightly fading. He has picked up a little bit of damage here and there, but was fighting for the lead at one point and is having a very solid day. Scott Sprinkles made a rebound as well after having some troubles. A lot of the stepping stone cars coming up front tonight, which is an interesting thing to see because a lot of them were last-second drivers to fill in, because a lot of the stepping stone drivers that normally run got tapped on the shoulder to go run in chartered cars tonight. Callie Height sitting in 8th position, battling right now with John Hagan still. As they go at it, Shad Swatsworth is 10th position. That's the top 10 as they run. You can see them in the background as Swatsworth found his way around Wansing. It's probably the best battle at the front right now between these two, as they are still going at it, as they have been for a couple of laps now, Carmen.
Pretty intense battle here. As we look back at the 64 of Hagan.
Yeah, much better exit.
Swing back there onto the oval.
Callie gonna try and get some draft and take that momentum down the back straightaway. She might have enough time here to generate a run and reattempt attack here. Just gonna have to make a pretty big lunge. That's a pretty big gap to try and close. You can see she breaks a bit earlier. The brakes glowing brightly on both drivers. Pit stops coming soon with 11 laps to go. The window is well and truly open.
Who blinks first? Obviously, some drivers are not going to be looking forward to being on cold tires again.
Oh, trouble there. Sprinkle overdoes the corner. All the stepping stone cars really been struggling in that last turn, it seems. It's not just been them, but it's something of note that every driver with the stepping stone logo on it seems to have hit one of those curbs and gone airborne at some point tonight.
Not even just the cars, the stepping stone drivers. Bianca, obviously filling in for Dylan McDonald tonight in the 96 machine. Also having issues.
Gaiman's moved up to the 3rd position, and they've both found their way around Bren Roberts, so now put Proudfoot in 2nd. Hagan on the move in the 64, getting around Sprinkle and Height in 1 lap. Nice little moves there from the 64 machine. Joel Rodriguez under fire with Sosi. Still the closest battle on the track right now, in the top 10 anyways.
Yeah, I think this is one of the closest battles on track, period.
Yeah.
You have to look down, battle between Flores and Santiago for 22nd. That's closest battle.
Both of them having days to forget, but still running pretty mid-pack, so they're still rolling, which is important enough in a race that has taken some very big names out. So good points day for both of them to just keep rolling around. You can see in the background Hunter Whitlock going on. Josh Arnold for the 21st position, or excuse me, the 22nd position, and he will get it. Very nice move there by Whitlock, done and dusted in the number 19.
It can look easy.
Joel Rodriguez is in the pit lane in the 57. He is the first one to blink, and they will all need to react to him. Nobody else comes in yet. It's just Rodriguez in the top 10. So what does Valentin do? Because Rodriguez may not be as fast, but he is a threat. So I don't know what Valentin necessarily is going to be thinking so much about it, but Proudfoot, Gaiman, Roberts absolutely need to respond to that, because the 57 is pretty quick. Other thing too is trying to find a gap to put your car back into. Rodriguez comes out. It looks like he's going to fall to about 14th. So really won't lose a whole lot of time here. Side by side, going to slot in right behind Gary Donaldson in 14th. So would have liked to probably got out just a few seconds ahead there, and will not make too much time before getting back around the 22 machine on those fresher tires. And that's good for him, because he's going to get some clean racetrack to try and run and gain some time on these leaders. So we'll keep an eye on him. See as he manages those colder tires. Even if they're colder, they're going to be faster at this stage of the race. So with only 10 laps to go, you don't have to save a whole lot. We saw some drivers struggling in that first stage that was only 10 laps, but I think now, especially that it's cooler, the sun's gone down, the tires are going to definitely respond a little bit more. As you said, it's going to take longer to get them up to temperature, but once they're there, you can pretty much go for it.
Front of the field, Rudy Valentin. Keeping things posted as...
Yeah, Valentin and Proudfoot stay out. Gaiman and Roberts come in to respond to Rodriguez. Sosi and Hagan will stay out, as will Sprinkle, Height, and the rest of them. So yeah, pretty much everybody who's in the fight actively with Rodriguez responds, those two. So yeah. Wansing comes in as well in the 0. So here comes Gaiman. Here comes Rodriguez as well, but he's on the front straightaway, so still quite a ways off.
Browse through here, Valentin on the back straightaway, coming through oval turn 3 now.
I imagine he's probably going to pit this time. This time or next. He has got 13 seconds to Brandon Proudfoot, so he really doesn't have to do anything crazy to lock this one down.
It's funny, and it's so difficult to describe this, but it's almost easy to just keep pushing if you're Valentine. You don't want to think about it.
No, you don't, because when you start running at 80%, you're not doing what you've been in the rhythm of doing, so you are more prone to making mistakes. However, you don't need to push at 110%, because we've already seen that's caused issues for Valentine today. If he's running about 90%, I think he'll be fine. He stays out another lap. Proudfoot, who is in second, is still getting through the final chicane, so that whole front straightaway is pretty much the distance between Valentine and Proudfoot. Valentine's gonna box and come back out roundabout in the top 5, 8th place or so. He's not gonna lose a whole lot of time here.
Sosi comes in from the 3rd position. Still waiting on pit stops from Valentine, Proudfoot, Hagen, Sprinkle, and Height.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, Valentine's going to pit and come back out and still be on the podium. Because he should come out in front of Gaiman.
Something very interesting here is that a lot of the drivers that have come in on these stops, taking fuel only.
Very interesting. Really.
So see a 5.1 second stop. Brent Roberts 6.4. 4.4 for Gaiman. And those are very decidedly just fuel-only stops. If you're taking tires, just 2 tires alone, you're going to be spending 9 seconds on pit lane. No one has done that. You're either taking 4 or you're taking none. And I think the strategy, if you're trying to gain time, take none.
Valentine's got a big enough of a gap. He could afford to take tires.
It depends on what he's comfortable with doing. I think, and I mentioned that when we started talking about these pit stops, cold tires are going to be a factor, and drivers have just elected to not deal with them at all.
Yeah, that's true. Looks like he's coming in now. He does. So your leader pits. We'll wait in the background to see. Waiting. There is Brandon Proudfoot, who has a lap car between him and Valentine. Will he stay out now in an attempt to lead a lap, or will he also come in? He stays out, so we will have a new leader tonight of Brandon Proudfoot. And there's Valentine, who did not look to take tires.
No, he did not. He just filled it up.
So he's off and away. He will rejoin in P2.
Yeah, still safe from Hagen, who just crossed our finish.
Yeah, and by a wide margin. Who, it must be said, Hagen is moving in that 64 machine, but too little, too late.
He's got to keep moving, because there's Josh Gavin right behind him. Spots has come in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll give up a top 10 spot here.
Proudfoot leads by just 5 and some change over Rudy Valentine. It still has to pit. He should hang on to second once everything cycles out, though he is under potential threat to fall a bit deeper, might fall off the podium, but he should be on for a top 5. It's Proudfoot, Valentine, Hagen, Gaiman, Sprinkle, Callie Height, Josh Sosi, Rodriguez, Peach, and Donaldson. About half of those drivers still need to make a pit stop. Valentine will be the leader once things cycle out, and he should have a pretty wide buffer to the checkered flag here. Just barring he doesn't make any big mistakes, he should be in good shape.
Doing whatever he can here, but I think time is limited as far as him running in the top 3 at the moment. He's got a pit stop coming, and unlike with Valentine, he's going to lose several spots in this pit exchange.
Mm-hmm. And there you see Valentine, who is about to pass Proudfoot if not too much time goes by on pace alone. It's taken about a second out of Proudfoot's lead. As Proudfoot stays out again, Hagen blinks in the 64 machine, so he will relinquish that position and will probably tumble to roundabout bottom of the top 10. Still has a decent run on tonight. Callie Height still needs to pit as well, but she will now inherit a top 5 position as she continues to fight with Scott Sprinkle, who also needs to pit. So still could be on for a top 5 for her. Or Scott, whichever one gets the advantage there. Still a little bit to go, and they still need to pit. Joel Rodriguez still looming around in that 57 machine, so don't count him out either.
Yeah.
He is going to be battling with John Hagen, actually, as I say that, on pit exit. So this is going to get spicy between those two as they head off into the International Horseshoe. And it looks like Rodriguez is going to have the advantage as it stands only just, and Hagen is going to lose out on that battle just a bit. Scott Poznanski comes into the pit lane from 15th. He will fall down the order. He's up 15 positions from where he started, so not an overwhelmingly fantastic day for Poznanski, but he's doing quite well for himself. Gary Donaldson as well still needs to make a pit stop, but currently up 27 positions. Biggest mover of the race. Started plumb last on the grid.
Not bad ever for Donaldson at all. Having to avoid the landmines at the start of the race and the start of this stage.
Yeah, you're telling me. He's very quietly gotten himself into position too. Of course, still needs to pit, but he should come out not too far back. He should be in the top. He should be in the teens. So Proudfoot finally pits, giving Valentine the lead back with 5 laps to go now. Gaiman should also have a chance. I don't know that. Yeah, Gaiman will still need to pit though.
No, Gaiman is good.
He doesn't.
33.
That's right. So Gaiman will inherit second place from Proudfoot, who now comes out. So that's worked out a treat for Gaiman, hasn't it? So he now moves up into the second position. Height, who does still need to pit though, will now scoot up to 4th. I wonder if she's trying to pit when the fuel runs dry to try and get the most out of the car while it's light there, and then very short stop. Of course, they're not stopping for as long as they did at the start because they don't need as much fuel to get to the end. So splash and go is pretty much for these drivers. Ooh, who was that was off the track? I think it was a lapped car. Nearly getting in the wall there.
It was.
Thought it was Valentine for a minute because it was a white and a blue car. Valentine's right there. He's going on quite nicely. 13 seconds now clear of Josh Gaiman, 18 clear of Proudfoot, and 22 clear of Height. 30 seconds clear. I think it was Thompson that was getting out of the way in the 10 car.
Apperson down pit lane here.
As is Flores. As they fight for the low teens. Or rather, the high teens. They'll fall outside the top 20, but a handful of cars still need to make a pit stop. Sosi is one of them. Oh, and he nearly gets into the back. Is that Swatsworth? Has to blow the chicane there. And it is Swatsworth, who is 24th now.
What happened to Swatsworth there?
Yeah, I don't know either. He was
down.
Kind of just must have got caught up in one of the restart situations there.
Oh, that's right. He was in that restart crash.
Selena Thompson has crashed, and Swatsworth blows the corner as well. That is Thompson backwards in the final corner, so her issues compounding now. She currently runs in 29th. It's worth noting Ruby Acosta has actually overtaken Thompson.
Yeah.
So with her running around, she's next to overtake is Bren Roberts, who's in the pit lane now. So
and it's been in the pit lane for almost 5 minutes here.
Yeah, so something amiss on the 33, who was going quite nicely on that strategy call. But Acosta going to gain another spot. Here's a battle for position. Sprinkle fighting with Peach, and there in the background you see Callie Height joins the track. This is all for position, and that's Sprinkle that goes deep and into the wall. And so does Hagen. They all blew the corner. Callie Heights says thank you very much, and we'll go after Hunter Peach. So Callie kind of got bailed out there because half the people she was fighting all decided to go for a little adventure. And Hunter Peach, and that is Swatsworth, who is having more problems in the 18 car. So it'll be Peach and Height that are fighting. Rodriguez very much on for a top 5. Valentine dispatching the lap traffic. 14 seconds still in the back pocket as he comes to 3 laps of racing to go before he can see his first career win in HTL. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight. Next week we'll be in Miami on the Oval for some more of what NASCAR does best. If you're wanting more content after the checkered flag, we've got you covered over on ABN2. Carmen will be running down many of the incidents that we weren't able to cover in finer detail in this race. Definitely a lot of things to talk about. Not necessarily all of them good, but something that has been pretty impressive is the performance by Rudy Valentine tonight. He has absolutely been on fire, and I'm not just talking about the brakes. Hunter Peach comes into the pit lane now. And that should just about cycle everybody out. It's interesting to note that some drivers did almost make it all the way on fuel, which is a bit higher on the estimates than I think we thought they were going to go.
Oh, yeah, by far, yeah.
So I don't think anybody has successfully made it, but it was a lot closer than I think we thought.
One person I think that you might be looking at here, maybe Hunter Whitlock. Maybe, I'm not sure if he's pit or not yet.
I'm not sure. He's had his share of issues tonight, though, so we'll see. He's currently running in 20th.
He's in that battle with Scott Poznansky.
Now, he is not far from going a lap down, which could help him in his attempt to make it, because he'll have to go one less lap. So that may actually benefit him if he has not made his pit stop yet, because there is Valentine just behind them both. That's
Arnold just came
Poznansky.
down pit lane.
Yeah, Arnold couldn't make it. Poznansky is in 18th, and that's Whitlock in 19th. So Rudy Valentine is working on lapping about half the field on his way to his first career win. He has to get up to 18th to do it, and Scott Poznansky is 18th. So they're not going to put up too much of a fight here to the race leader.
Really making it look clinical.
All the cars you see in the background are lapped cars. Nobody on the radar of the number 91. 14 seconds clear of Josh Gaiman in second. It's been a great effort. It's been a great start to the season for the Project 91 project from Ascent Racing. Plenty of talent has been behind the wheel, and we're only a handful of races into the season and only 2 points-paying events in. He'll be showing the white flag next time by. And he will be one of the drivers to hit the 100% club, the 1 for 1 in 1 lap's time. We saw him make a little bit of a mistake early on that cost him a chance to win stage 1, but he's recovered quite nicely and now finds himself with a very comfortable gap to the rest of the field.
Enjoying the HTL group, what we already knew.
We knew he'd be very, very fast tonight. We knew he'd have a lot of strong competitors, but they all kind of dropped like flies around him. And as the Henderson Graphics white flag is shown to Rudy Valentine, Project 91 driver will head around his final circuit on this track. A very well-earned win, provided he can get around this treacherous circuit one more time. Tell you what, Sosi and And Rodriguez may not be quite done with each other. The gap's not very small, but they are within striking distance if there's a small mistake. One of the closer battles in the field. Likewise with Height and Hagen. Still a pretty big gap, about a second between them, but there is a little bit going on. I guess the closest one would be Panansky and Whitlock, actually.
You'd be looking at Millsap and Taub as well, I believe. 16 and 13, maybe close there.
Roundabout. But nobody really within a couple of car lengths of each other. It's all about a second, half a second. So we watch.
Easier Valentine.
Yeah. He's ran not a perfect race, but a very solid one indeed, and will get Ascent Racing their first win of the season.
First win in the series.
In the Project 91 machine, which was chartered for this very reason, to put very talented drivers in as a specialist seat, kind of rotating like what we saw with the 50 car from Stepping Stone last year. He navigates the 28 of Boone, lets him actually get the lap back so he can complete his lap. Boone says, no, I don't want to. And Rudy Valentine will take the checkered flag to win his first career race in HTL and his first career start. And that's a bit funny, isn't it? Matthew Boone has had enough. He'll take his 25th and go home.
I've been in that position. I've been in that position with Matthew Boone where you're just like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah.
The pride's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm good.
Hey, I told you they weren't done. Rodriguez and Sosi side by side into the final corner now. How's this one going to pan out, the battle for fourth?
Ooh, very close. Sosi got the advantage.
He gets into him. They both go through. I don't think they're going to lose that. Oh, my God. That was the 4 of Apperson who came flying in there. Now, they won't lose any time. Rodriguez and Sosi will finish 4th and 5th because they had such a large gap back to Sprinkle and Height, who are battling here. That's John Hagen and Callie Height going at it for the final spot between those two. Height hops the curb. Hagen hops the curb. They body slam each other, and around goes Hagen. And he may lose a couple more positions because here comes Seth Wanzing in the background with Byron Jones. So Hagen going to lose quite a couple spots here at the very end. He'll lose 2 in that exchange, plus the 1. He'll lose 3 in that exchange, plus the 1 he lost battling with Height. So there's some more things for you to unpack there, Carmen, at the checkered flag, as if we didn't have enough to talk about.
As I appreciate them gifting me content, but
not like this.
F1 needs to kind of calm down a little bit.
Yeah, well. The rest of the field gonna kind of come back. No real battles going on for the rest of them. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see that Zach Apperson destroyed the suspension on that Ford Mustang when he came through that final corner at full song. We got one car going backwards. Because I believe they tried to turn it around in the in-between area, between the infield, and I don't know that they know that there's still some cars finishing the race. There's still some live cars on track, so. Oh, gosh. Here's your race winner, though. Rudy Valentine takes it home in the number 91. The New Jersey native going to burn it down. We'll see if we can speak to him, Gaiman, and Proudfoot. Congratulations to Rudy Valentine, your ABN winning moment for Ascent Racing in the Project 91 car. And he will go find a parking spot with his teammate, Selena Thompson. That was the car that was going the wrong way. Now, it wasn't a big issue because it's in turn 1, and I don't think she re-entered the track, but I think she had came out from the re-entry to the oval and turned around there. They'll do a nose-to-nose burnout, of course, teammates, those two. Selena celebrating for her temporary teammate, and Valentine will go ahead and burn it down some more, and there comes Eli Sasek for good measure as the Ascent crew celebrates their first win as an organization at HTL. And Rudy Valentine celebrates a very well-earned win. Again, we'll try to speak to him in a moment. Congrats to him on his first career win in HTL. Congratulations as well to Ascent Racing for their first win in HTL. Great things done all around there for Rudy. We'll see if we can't grab him and see who we can talk to. They seem to all be waiting there, so let's see if we can talk to Rudy. Rudy, this is Kristina and Carmen in the ABM booth. You have a copy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, very solid run all day long. You've put it where you needed to put it. A couple mistakes early on, but enough to rebound from. Congratulations on your first career win in HTL.
Thank you very much. Yeah, after the I hit the turtles on like lap 3, I thought I wasn't gonna be able to get back to Bia, but then I forgot there were stages. So I pit early before that first stage so I could get tires, and then I took fuel only and then got right back to where I was. Yeah,
absolutely. Of course, there was a lot of chaos behind you, but you did a very good job up front of managing the race besides the turtle incident. How hard was it to drive the cars? Because it seemed like a lot of people were struggling with grip, and of course we know how brutal that the turtles have been so far to drivers. How was it like for you besides the incident there, obviously?
It was after I had my accident, I learned not to test the boundaries there in the bus stop. More of the issues on my end were more under braking because I run a lot of rear brake, so I kind of hopped the wheels a couple times and almost spun there, but I was able to not do that and just avoid the turtles and stuff like that.
Well, it's your first career win in HTL. You've got Ascent, their first win as an organization, a pretty good milestone for you. And you have one at Daytona. Granted, it is the road course, but still, anyone at Daytona is special. If there's anybody you want to shout out or anything you want to say, now would be the time to do it. If not, congrats, Rudy, on a brilliant race and a great first career win.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Selena and Eli for letting me drive this car. Let me run this race. Really appreciate the opportunity to make a start. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
All right, well, there you have it. First-time winner, Rudy Valentine at HTL, that is. He's won in just about everything else. And he will continue his streak of winning in just about every ABN series. So congrats to him. And he will go celebrate with his team over in Ascent and what has been a brilliant effort for the Project 91 car. And let's speak now with second place finisher Josh Gaiman. Josh, this is Kristina and Carmen in the ABM booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Wasn't quite the win that you wanted, but after the start of that race and how poorly things were shaping out, can't complain with a P2 at the end of the night, right?
Yeah, positive camber is a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, absolutely. Walk us through, honestly, the race for you, because it was a bit of an up and down one for you, but still ended up on the podium with a strong finish.
Yeah, I really don't know how, because I spun out off of every curb and corner that I could think of. You know, I figured, you know, if I did one, why not do the rest? The curbs just, it was like I heard Rudy say, the braking, like the car just kind of went wherever it wanted to, really. You know, like them, I run a lot of rear brake. I think everybody knows that about me by now. And just kind of had to keep walking it forward, and it just, you know, time after time again, I'd hit a curb and I'd be like, wait, you know, you should learn by now. You know, you should know better by now. But, you know, and the car just under braking just kind of does whatever it wants.
Yeah, we saw that Rudy was using a lot of rear brake. We were seeing who was using more front and rear brake with the way that they were glowing tonight. Obviously, you to rebound there and have a really nice strategy in that final stage to get back to where you needed to be. Did you have any damage on the car after the shenanigans there at the start that was more than anything just cosmetic, or did you have to kind of recover from that as the night went on?
On my first pit stop under the stage, I didn't. There was no damage time at all. So I guess it might have just been a little bit like superficial. Some bumps and scrapes that wasn't worth fixing, or I didn't really get hit too hard. I just kind of had to drive out and around and off the track to avoid it.
Well, if there's anything else you want to say, of course, it's a P2 for you and a good rebound after getting caught up in a lot of the things at Daytona on the oval. Of course, we're headed to Miami next. I'm sure there's going to be some confidence there. We'll see you up front as we usually do. Another great effort from you. But if there's anybody you want to shout out, that'd be the time.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone at Stepping Stone. It was a little bit of an up and down night. I know we didn't have we had a good start, kinda, sorta, and except for the little like turn 1 incident, but everybody recovered pretty decent and kept their cars clean for the most part. And shout out to 213, Simware, Tony Setup Shop, W Energy, for riding along on board and sticking with me for as long as they have. And on to better setups next week.
All right, well, that's Josh Gaiman, P2 tonight, and with some momentum carrying into the final race in Florida in Miami. Next up is Brandon Proudfoot, teammate of Josh Gaiman, who also finishes on the podium after being backwards and very far behind at the start. Brandon, this is Kristina and Carmen at the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Well, it was a very exciting start to the race for you. But you've had a nice rebound and still end up finishing P3. That's a really solid day for you. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I'm really happy, especially with what happened at the beginning. That initial start, I seen somebody on the inside tire smoke, and I tapped the brake right as I came off of the actual Daytona surface, so it just stepped the car out. I wiggled a little bit, and then I just held the brakes and just slid off track and just let everybody ride, because there's no sense of me trying to not lock it down and spin out and take everybody out in front of me. But so I just did what I could just to not make anything worse, minus a smoke bomb for everybody. But overall, we Stepping Stone as a whole, we all took tires off of that first stop, just as kind of a gamble, because all of us in some way, shape, or form, we either locked the brakes up or I spun out. A few things here and there, and we all decided just to see what we could do different compared to Rudy, because Rudy was just on their own. They were absolutely blazing fast, and it was just a little bit of a gamble and endurance throughout the whole race to work our way back up to the front.
Yeah, how much was it difficult for you to get back through the field? Did you have more issues passing traffic, or was it just one of those deals where, because you kind of ended up getting through there, was it through the cycles, I think, on the stages, but definitely had to pass a lot of cars to get there. How hard was it?
It wasn't the worst thing. I was definitely driving really, really hard, and taking that set of tires after the first stage definitely helped. I believe I went from 35th to, I think, 15th. It was definitely rough, but just being patient and just letting cars overshoot a bus stop here and there, and then just use the draft and get the run rather than try to use the bumper. Just overall trying to be smart rather than the big dumb on the turn 1 there.
Well, it was a good effort for you, of course, finishing in P3. We know you're very good at the road courses, and when we do see you, you're pretty good everywhere. So with a podium in your back pocket, 2 rounds in, some momentum headed forward. If there's anything else you want to say, now would be the time to say it. If not, congrats on a solid podium and a great recovery.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody at Stepping Stone. I know that we had a few extras tonight. Everybody did communicate relatively well. A few hiccups here and there, but there's a lot of information going back and forth. So those that did substitute tonight, good job. Thanks to James for letting me step into the charter. That way I had a guaranteed spot for tonight. You guys here in ABN for doing the broadcast, and everybody in the background for HTL for having this league. And fingers crossed, I should be with you guys throughout the whole season. So looking forward to future rides possibly, and hopefully some more conversation with y'all. You guys have a good one.
You too. Congratulations and take care.
You as well.
So a pretty processional interview with our top three. Everybody there kind of just happy that it ended up in their favor. Of course, it wasn't the ultimate road course race experience, but it was a very solid one, despite the issues at the front early on. And I'm sure that's something to have a lot of things to talk about headed into ABN2 in just a little bit. Carmen, what were your thoughts of the race tonight?
It was chaotic. I think the thing about like how hyped this race was, it becoming back on the calendar. It wasn't on the calendar last season. Definitely a lot of chaos. Definitely a lot of drivers I think that weren't fully ready for this race. Difficult track, as you mentioned, very unforgiving racetrack. But I think largely, the overall sentiment is that a lot of drivers are ready to get back to some of the more fan favorite tracks coming up here: Homestead, Pocono, Fontana. Gonna be going back to some of almost playing the greatest hits again.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of drivers looking forward to that. I think a lot of drivers are looking forward to put Daytona in the rearview mirror and not have to worry about going back to Daytona until the end of December.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to get some other racetracks on the leaderboard as well. Of course, it was a great Speed Weeks, and it really showed throughout most of Speed Weeks. We went to all kinds of different tracks and had all kinds of different racing, and not a huge explosive finish to Speed Weeks, but sometimes you don't need that when the rest of Speed Weeks has been so great. With that, we'll show you now the final unofficial finishing order of tonight's event. Rudy Valentin grabs his first victory in HTL, and Ascent Racing's first victory since their inception in his first career start. Josh Gaiman with a solid run in second, and Brandon Proudfoot, you heard from all three of them, as Stepping Stone has a great night overall, as does the rest of Ascent. Even though Joel Rodriguez was not behind the wheel of an Ascent car tonight, he did an excellent job in fourth place. It was Josh Sosi who came home fifth, delivering the mail, as it always will be. The Daytona 300 winner finishes fifth and does a great job for his regular season hopes. Scott Sprinkle had a brilliant run, and they finish in sixth place, just shy of the top five after kind of coming from nowhere. A last-second entry puts in an excellent show and minimized mistakes. Callie Height, rebounding from a mistake early on, comes back for a strong finish in seventh, with Seth Wansing having a sleeper race, doing a great job to finish in eighth. Non-charters did a great job tonight for those that did qualify. Byron Jones, filling in for the champ, does a nice job to get a top 10, and Eli Sasick sharing in the splendors of Ascent Racing, coming home in the 10th position. Carmen? John Hagan comes home in 11th, with Hunter Peach 12th, Blake Henderson 13th. No, you're fine. Gary Donaldson in 14th, and Kyle Taub 15th.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention John Hagan lost a lot of positions in that battle with Callie Height there at the end, had a mic issue. Mike somehow stopped being plugged in, so got to talk to my assistant director over here about that one. But Jake Millsap obviously was involved in that stage 3 melee at the start of that stage. Recovered, I think, pretty well. Went to 16th place. I think only ended up with a net negative of maybe 3 positions out of that, so overall, pretty good way to recover there for the 13 of Millsap. Elias Flores likewise was involved in several incidents tonight. Kept it steady, kept it stable. Finished on lead lap there in the 17th position. Last car on lead lap as Scott Poznansky, Hunter Whitlock, Alfred Denny. You start looking at those drivers. The first cars 1 lap down. Not renowned for their road course prowess. But overall, try to keep their noses clean. We didn't talk about Denny hardly at all. Didn't talk about Santiago at all, even though he was as high as second at one point. And Josh Arnold obviously just trying to look forward to getting out of Daytona as quickly as possible. Zach Apperson did not have a great race. Just a snowball effect there for that 4 car. But we know the intermediates are going to be Zach Apperson's strong suit, Tombstone's strong suit as a whole. That entire team should be buoyed up by the next few weeks. Coming up, especially beginning of Homestead next week. Matthew Boone, we saw him go 2 laps down. He was already 1 down. He's like, I'm already 1 down. Why not give it another? And let his race kind of come to an end. 1 lap early in 25th there. Cole Snyder in 26th. His race went badly in a hurry, and it just never got better for that 24 car. Unfortunate for him after how good his car, how good that team performed last week at Daytona. Not the way that they wanted to follow that up here tonight. Bren Roberts in a charter ride in that number 33 car looked possible, looked creative at the midpoint of the race, but left with asking a lot more of that 33 car after an incident. Ended up putting him 3 laps down. Ruby Acosta, unforced error there in the 31 for Lady Liberty Motorsports, filling in for Kevin Gibney Jr. A lot of pace in that 31 car with Ruby Acosta behind the wheel, but one forced error put that car 3 laps down. Acosta still recovering, getting ahead of Selena Thompson in 29th place, who's going to have some talking to with the series officials regarding the incident under caution with Hunter Whitlock. Chris Pendell in 30th place. Start looking at some of the DNFs here that we've gotten into. Chris Pendell, Bianca Constantinu. Bianca with a huge question mark moment, running into the tire barrier, rejoining the oval under caution, threw that race away, and that, unfortunately, unrepairable damage to the 96 car here this evening. Jeremy Breo, an early retirement as well. Then Connor Morris, Ryan Moutre, Lily Peltier Sharp, and Caitlin Height, unfortunately, out on opening lap. Never after we see Caitlin Height out this early. Obviously frustrating there for her after Daytona last week also didn't quite go the way she wanted it to either. Gonna have to try to regroup and try to get back at it at Homestead next week.
Yeah, a good mental reset for everybody would be very helpful, of course. There's always going to be tempers after the checkered flag flies. But we do get a little break of reprieve, and we get to leave the fortress of speed that is the Daytona International Speedway. We stay in Florida, though, and head to Miami next. But there's a lot to cover, and we can't cover it all here. With that being said, we're going to take a short intermission before we have a seamless shift broadcast over to ABN2, where Carmen will be taking the reins and showing us all the things we may have missed in tonight's race. And there's a lot to miss with a green flag race aside from the stages. Lots of little things throughout the field and some explanations for why some things happened. Maybe a couple interviews as well. Carmen, I'll let you go get ready for that while we close things out here on ABN1. Don't go anywhere. As we said, seamless shift, so we'll be rating straight to ABN2. You don't have to move a finger. Just sit there and be pretty. Speaking of, thank you for being there all night and supporting us week in and week out. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and we'll see you next time in Miami. Take care, be well, and we'll see you over on ABN2. From Carmen, Sienna, I'm Kristina Ryan. Take care.